Hello, everyone. My name is Apostate Aladdin. The purpose of today's live stream is to give ex-Muslims a space and a chance to call in and speak their mind. I know that, especially since it's Ramadan, there must be a lot of frustrated ex-Muslims out there, and this is my attempt at giving them a bit of a relief. So I've been doing these live streams a bit more frequently during Ramadan. And as of right now, we already have a few callers waiting to join. But if you would like to join the stream live, link is pinned to the live chat right now. So if you do join, just give me a brief description of who you are and what you'd like to talk about today. And the topics today don't have to be specifically about Ramadan, but typically they probably will be, given that it's the month. But you could talk about whatever it is that you feel like talking about, related to the topic of the channel, of course. And if you're watching this after the live stream has ended, I will have timestamps. So if you want to listen to a specific caller, or if you want to skip to the next caller, if you find that one of the stories is more relevant to you, you can do so if you wish. And as always, starting a trend since last time, there will be resources in the description if you need immediate help. Hopefully one of these organizations will be close enough to you or accessible to you. So the queue is expanding and then shortening. This is very confusing. I had a bunch of callers and now I don't have any at all. So, okay, let me vamp for a few seconds till everyone sorts it out. So tell me in the comments, what are you guys reading these days? At the moment, I am making my way through this book that I still haven't finished, The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. I'm only halfway through, and it's not the easiest book to finish sometimes. It depends on whether I'm in the mood or not. And I'm also reading this book, A House of Trees, by Memoirs of an Australian Girlhood by Joan Colebrook. It's a woman's recounting of her time as a little girl in the early days of Australia in the early 1900s. It's interesting, but a little boring sometimes. What else? Yeah, and this is Apu, by the way. Say hi. He just chooses to be as inconvenient as possible. As soon as I start live streaming, he's here sitting on my stuff. And the project that my next video that I'm working on right now is my experience with the Islamic hell. Hopefully that'll be out by Friday. And the one after that should be tips on how to get over your fear of hell. Those two are going to be one video, but it turned out to be way too long for that. So hopefully I can split them up into two, and you'll have one each week. Okay, we've got some comments and then a caller who might be ready. Critical, if you're ready, I'll take you soon. Russia says, that's interesting. I finished Sapiens and I'm currently reading Homo Deus. I started the second one. I finished the first one and I only started the second one, but I forgot why I stopped reading. But tell me how it is. I'm curious. Zia Ali says, hey, Aladdin, quick question. At what age did you finally consider yourself an atheist? At what age would you say that you started to have doubts about Islam? I'm kind of touching on that in the next video, but at what age did I start doubting? It's hard to say because I've had questions from a very young age, but, from the age of maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, I had questions, or even 10 years old, I had questions, but it wasn't a possibility for me that the religion is not true. I was so immersed in it, and everyone around me was so clearly Muslim, and where I grew up, it wasn't even an option that one can be born Muslim and not be Muslim. So it was by default true. So I had I struggled a lot to make sense of it. I can see that something doesn't add up, but I wouldn't qualify it as a doubt because I can't doubt the religion. So it's hard to say when they turned into doubts, but I think in my early 20s, they became more and more like doubts, and I was still very much in denial. So in my mid-20s is when I suppose it became more official that I faced it, that I don't actually believe. Yeah. I don't know. I've mentioned before why I shy away from saying atheist straight away without elaborating, because Some people might misunderstand what that means, but all it means to me is I believe that all we know about all these gods are claims made by humans. So I don't know if there could possibly be a deity up there or not, or multiple. I don't know how the world came to be, but I can tell you confidently that all the stories we hear about God are man made. That's my position on it. All right, we've got the caller. Hopefully, the caller is ready. Uh, Wait, no, the caller has switched again. So, Nafaman, if I'm reading that correctly, Nafarman. I hope you're ready because I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going? You are muted at the moment. Are you there? I don't think they're ready. Okay, I'll wait for them to come back. This is odd. I had a bunch of callers and then they all disappeared. Soleil Apostate is here. Soleil Apostasie. Sorry, I always misread that. If you'd like to join till we get to the next caller, I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Yes, very well. It's Ramadan, so I have a lot of work because, you know, in Islam it is said that the shaitan is locked during the Ramadan, or the demons, I don't know. So, Islamists and Muslim apologists, they think that we ex-Muslims, we are working for the shaitan, or we are shaitan. So I must work a lot to prove them wrong, you know, to say to them that I am a normal person. I have my thinking, my thoughts, and I am not a demon. I am not a devil. I'm just a simple free mind who wants to express, who wants to talk. So yes, in this Ramadan, it's my fourth Ramadan that I don't do, for my fourth, and I have to lie to my family. I live pretty far from my family, so I talk to them on the phone, and I say to them, yes, Ramadan, I do Ramadan. Yes, I am eating well. Yes, it is not hard with my job, and I am tired to lie. But I know that my parents, they cannot imagine me not doing Ramadan, not fasting. They cannot conceive. It is not in their program. And so I'm sad because I have to lie, and I hate to lie to my parents because I love them, and I hate to do it. And you, have you told your parents that you don't fast?
Yeah. And I have a question for you about that, by the way, before I
Yeah.
talk about it. So you said that you feel bad about lying. Um, do you feel like you're doing something wrong or sinful when you lie to them about this?
Mm, yes, I feel bad when I lie. Whoever the person is, I feel bad. Something is wrong. I am a complete person. How can I say? I am authentic. I cannot live in a lie. So I cannot lie to. I can lie. I am able to lie if I want to, but I hate it. You know,
Mhm.
I feel something wrong. And so yes, during Ramadan, uh, some of my coworkers they fast. Some of my friends fast, and when they see me eating for my lunch, for my lunch break, I see them looking a little strange, like they laugh at me. And I said to them, Fasting is so simple. I did it all my life. I did it during 20 years. I am not afraid to fast, and I even like intermittent fasting. So I don't hate it, but just fasting for the wrong reasons, it's really bad. It messes up with your eating disorder because you you cannot eat because of the wrong reasons. So you think, and at the end of the day, you will take revenge. You will eat everything on the table. So it is unhealthy for me because I remember when I used to fast, I I used to play video games during the night, and I slept during the day if I was on vacation. So it messes up your sleep and it messes up your eating because you eat a lot of fat and sugar. I think it is unhealthy, the Ramadan, as we do it.
I agree with that. Um, and definitely, if you live in a Muslim country, it's normal for everyone to sort of shift their schedule upside down and definitely not be as productive during the whole month. So it does happen very often that people stay up late, either hang out together, have suhoor, or just play video games or whatever it may be, and spend as little amount of time as possible fasting during the day. Um, and that's technically not haram, so a lot of people do that.
Yeah,
Um,
but
yeah.
in Algeria, because my parents are from Algeria, the whole country changes during the Ramadan. The
Mhm.
whole country, everyone they play soccer, they play football during the night. They have tournaments at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the night, uh, and people work during the night. They close during the day. The whole country lives during night time. So you change your whole biological timing of sleep. You know.
Mhm.
So it's like a cheating for me. It's cheating. It's a cheat. But in the North Africa, you cannot eat in the street during the Ramadan because you can be beat up. People that there was a story in the University of Morocco. Some students they wanted to eat, so they went in a closed room. They were eating their lunch, but the other students were Muslims and they were very angry. So they beat up everybody. It was really violent. There was a video on Facebook about it. It's really famous. And so yes, they are. But I want to say to them, you are so weak because me, I did Ramadan my whole life. I was never angry because I used to work as a waiter in a restaurant. I used to see the food on everyone's plate, and I was never angry. I was really strong in my faith, in my belief. So for me, seeing other people eat, because I live in France, I see everyone eating. It's not a problem. So the people who are angry, shouting, they are so dumb and idiots and weak. Yes.
It's not uncommon, unfortunately, that yeah, people would be aggressive towards anyone who's eating, and we've seen it happen time and time again that the law would side with the aggressors. Like it
Mm,
might just be illegal to even eat out in public in some of these countries.
mm. Yeah.
Hassan Alwan
Mm,
is saying even in the UK it's a problem. Today I was eating an ice cream, but as I approached the high street, which is full of Muslims, I threw it in the bin so no one would see me. That's unfortunate that you have to, amend your behavior because there are Muslims around, and yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm trying to not do that anymore. Like I'm open about not fasting. Um,
Yeah.
I have told my family members that I don't fast, and what's funny is how some of it took it. They reminded me that I need to pay a kafara, like to pay for the days that I'm missing. Like they don't quite understand. I mean, I'm not against charity, and I think I've done my fair share of charity to cover 30 days of Ramadan this year, but I wouldn't do it to make up for the days that I missed. They don't quite understand that I'm not even in the belief system anymore. Like there's a denial about that.
It is a mafia. They want you to pay the jizya, no?
I mean, that part I find the least problematic is that, if you miss a day or if you can't fast, sure, at'am miskin, pay for someone else to eat. I'm okay with
Mhm,
that. As long as it's not going to like a central authority, that is collecting all this money or something. It's between
mhm.
you and God. So you do it however you want. Um, but yeah, they still don't understand that I'm not I'm not gonna do it because I'm missing days of prayer because I'm not in the belief system at all. But yeah, funny because the other day, I had a coworker who I assumed was Muslim based on their name and their last name and their appearance and everything, and I didn't really, not eat in front of them or anything like that, but um, I don't know why. I just assumed they were fasting, and then I see them, bring out their lunch and heat it up, and I thought, oh, that was me assuming that they are Muslim, and I always advocate that we need to notice around us if someone is, possibly an ex-Muslim or not assume that they're Muslim. And here I was making that same mistake, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah. I know for Ramadan, the last thing, I live in France, but in France there is a pressure because if all your friends at school, at your high school, if everyone does the fasting, everyone, every North African like me, everyone does the fasting. So I am obliged to do it because if I don't do it, I will be mocked. I will be uh, despised. I will be isolated. I will be alone. So I will do like others. I will. You know, I did it before, but now with that I am an ex-Muslim. I imagine it was not possible for me to eat. It was impossible. And especially the young people, they are really mean when they want to. So yes, and if you eat, some people will take your photo and then on Facebook, and then they will mock you. They will make fun of you. I know. Oh, he wants to be a white boy. It is an
Yeah,
insult.
it's
Yeah,
they fetishize white people so much and they project that on anyone who's not acting exactly like the group. They think it's
yeah.
only because they want to be a white person. Yeah, it's frustrating, and I know that this might sound a bit bigoted, but I think there's some truth in this. You know as well as I do that there's a lot of infighting between North Africans about soccer, for example,
Hmm.
right? Like people would have big fights over some soccer game. So you can imagine that same group how they behave towards, like, this is bigger than soccer, even this is worse than soccer, that someone is a kafir or acting, like they're not Muslim. I
Hmm.
can imagine they could be even more vicious towards them. So yeah, I feel for anyone who's in that position.
You remind me of the last video of Mohammed Hijab. You know, he did a video about the Prime Minister of Scotland. You
Mhm.
know, because he's a Muslim. His name is Hamza Yusuf, and Mohammed Hijab. He said, "You're a kufr. You finished. You're done."
I
Because
saw the thumbnail of that
yeah,
video was like, "You are excommunicated," and I
yeah,
feel like that Muhammad Hijab guy, like he so desperately wants to role play some Sahabi or something. Like we're back in the
mhm.
desert on horses or camels. You are excommunicated. Communicated. He takes himself way too seriously. But yeah, I guess because the that prime minister guy is pro LGBT or like okay with LGBT rights, is that what triggered him?
Yeah. Because a journalist said to the Prime Minister of Scotland, she asked if gay sex is a sin in Islam. And so the prime minister said, no, no, I believe in equal marriage, gay marriage, straight marriage. It's the same, love. So he was nice. He was kind. He was nice. He was cool. And then the yes, the extremist Islamist Muhammad Hijab, he was angry. He said, "You're a kafir. You cannot subscribe at Islam. If you don't, you must apologize. You must." Oh my God! He's and I say to Muhammad Hijab, "Thank you so much, Muhammad Hijab. Thank you, because people will be will be will realize what Islam is, that it is intolerant, it is not a religion of peace. So thank you, Muhammad Hijab. Please keep on. You are doing a great job for ex-Muslims. Thank you."
I mean, he's saying it as it is. Like that's I don't hate the guy because he's just,
Yeah.
a personification of the values of Islam. I mean, people can't even like Muslims shouldn't be able to say that he's too aggressive and the prophet would have said don't be that aggressive because the prophet's own buddies were acting that way. Umar ibn al-Khattab was kind of like a Muhammad hijab. So
Mhm.
I don't even blame the guy. He's just the distillation of Islamic values in a person. Not to say that every Muslim acts like Muhammad hijab, but he is a representation of a lot of what is taught in Islam. And yeah, it's he's yeah. I don't know. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Um, yeah. You know how people always ask me, is Islam a cult? And I say, look at what qualifies as a cult. Look at the classification model of a cult. Does it qualify? Yes, it does. Can I say that all Muslims are members of a cult? No, it's not that simple. But then actions like that, like Muhammad Hijab being like, you're excommunicated because the guy has one opinion of, uh, you know, the gay people should be allowed to get married. It's none of my business. That is enough to get him kicked out of the cult. So if you need any more proof, there it goes.
Yes, and they should be happy that a Muslim became a prime minister. They should be proud. I don't understand, you know.
Mhm.
So
Right,
yeah.
it's hard to be. I have a lot of empathy for Muslims in non-Muslim countries who are trying to be politicians or have these public positions because if they behave if they behave Islamically, they will be hated and opposed by a lot of people, rightfully so, because you
Mhm.
don't want someone who doesn't stand for equal rights. You don't want Islamic values in your government. You want secular values that have, secular values in the sense that let's figure out what's best for everybody, irrespective of religion. You don't want religious bias in it. But if they don't behave Muslim enough, they will get a lot of hate, like this guy is getting from Muhammad Hijab. So it's almost like whether they are Muslim or an ex-Muslim, just having that name and that look is gonna make it very difficult for them to have public office. As someone with a Muslim background. So I do feel for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they will be attacked by anti-Islam people and by pro-Islam people. They will be
Mm.
attacked by everyone. So I don't understand why this Hamza Youssef did a prayer. He took a photo and put it on Twitter. He he put in public that he's a practicing Muslim. But man, we don't care. Do your prayer at home. We don't want to see your religion. But it's a French way of saying things. Maybe it's la laïcité. We don't want to know your religious belief. Keep it for yourself at home, at the mosque, but don't put it on public. It is shameful.
Mm.
It is too. How do you say intimate? It is in your heart. We don't want to, because you will divide people. Imagine if the French minister or a president, he does a prayer of Christian. Uh, no, it will divide people. You know, so
I
it's
think it
best to
should be
keep it.
irrelevant. Like it should be
Yeah.
irrelevant to what he's doing in his public position,
Mhm.
in public office. Um, by doing this, like if I wanted to vote for him, say I live wherever he is in his jurisdiction, and I wanted to vote for him because I agree with his platform, and he posted a video, a picture like this, showing off that he's making sujood or whatever, I would think first of all either he's pandering to Muslim voters. Like he wants them to know, hey, I'm still Muslim. Please vote for me, which I empathize with, but I also would disrespect. Like I would not respect that move, or I would think, oh, I wonder what beliefs he has from Islam that will leak into his decision making as in secular government. So I would trust him less, because he chose to display that part as part of his campaign. So it feels like it's all wrong moves all around. So yeah, that's a mess.
Well, thank you so much. I see that the queue is full, so I'll let other people talk. Thank you. A good evening for everyone, and see you later.
Yeah, thank you for joining, and we'll talk to you some other time. Take care.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. All right. So the queue is full, so I have a lot of callers waiting to join. So I'll go through some comments first, and then we'll get to the next caller. The next caller being Nafarman, if you're ready. So first, a few comments. Yeah, apparently that name means disobedience, which is probably befitting. Adonai says, just woke up for the stream. I love these streams. Well, thank you for that. I know that the timings of these don't work for everybody, but I'm trying to do it all over the clock so that it fits as many people as possible. Uh, Ursula was saying it's easier for a woman who can always say that she's having her period to fake fasting during Ramadan. It depends on her situation. Of course, if she can get away with always saying she has her period, like say she lives alone and she could tell strangers on the street to not bother her because she's having her period, then possibly. But it's more difficult for a woman if she also has to cook and actually, fast or pretend to fast or eat a lot less around family and so on, and also help with the cooking and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. So it really depends on the woman, but that is one excuse that they can use, and I hope that they utilize. Katrina is asking, "Are you a full-time YouTuber now?" Yes, and I'm not used to using that label, but yes, I am doing this full-time at the moment, and it, so far it's been a lot easier to have a live stream or two every week and one video. But I thought I'd be able to make a lot more than this, but apparently not. It takes a lot of effort. So, um, yeah, thankfully I'm able to do this full time at the moment. It's still not sustainable to do this in the long term. Like I'm still losing money every month, but thankfully I have planned for this and I want to do this for at least a year. It is my passion and that is why I'm doing it. So if I'm able to sustain it for longer, I will. If not, then it'll be a year of me doing this full time. So I'll take the next caller now. The next caller is Nafarman, right? Yes. I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, so my name is actually pronounced Nafarman, and as someone said in the comments, it does mean disobedient in Urdu, and I just thought it was very fitting for like what I've gone through in my life. So yeah.
Well, thanks for clarifying that.
No worries,
Mhm.
no worries. It's okay. So yeah, this. I'm sorry if I sound really nervous and all over the place too. I'm also fasting for Ramadan as well. And I'm kind of preparing for iftar, right now. So I can't stay for long. But I've never joined, your live streams ever before, and I just thought I would, join the Ramadan one. Because I have a lot to say, but I just don't know where to start.
It seems like some people recognize you from other live streams.
Yeah, so I did a live stream with Nuria. Since she and we share the same ethnic background. So I did a live stream with her, and I found her through Twitter, and me and her joined the Twitter space, and we started talking, and I was able to get in touch with her, and she asked me to be on her live streams.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's no need to be nervous. You can start by talking about whatever it is that you feel like talking about. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself or how Ramadan is going for you, wherever you want to start.
So I label myself as an agnostic Muslim, like mainly a cultural Muslim, because I don't think I ever was a true strong believer. And like for me, when growing up as a kid, I just thought that I was just a person. Like my parents were people that, we were just, different people. I didn't never knew that it had anything to do with religion. And I think I was introduced to what Muslim meant when I went to Sunday school when I was young. And I was told that I was Muslim around that time, but I had no idea what that meant. I was like, what does that mean? And I was told that you just submit to God. You have to believe in Allah. You have to believe that the Prophet Muhammad is the only one and everything. Um, and I've gone to Sunday school for about a year, and then I went to Quran classes, and I was taught how to pray and everything. But I was never a strong believer throughout it, because I always tried to find the most humanistic version of Islam, which is why I never felt went too deep into the rabbit hole of understanding the religion itself. Because on first hand, when I learned about Islam and through Sunday school, one of the first things that was taught to me as a girl was wearing a hijab and being modest. But then I saw that there were certain set rules set for like me, a girl, versus for my brothers and my male cousins, and my father and my uncle. I saw that difference. I was just like, well, why is it different for me and it's not for them? And it kind of like I always had those like little teeny tiny seeds of doubt in my mind. I was like, it's just not right. And then I would always compare that kind of experience and that thought process and that approach to modesty with my other friends who were Christians or non-Muslims. And when I like found out that in church they all sat together with their families, I was like, like we don't do that when we're praying at the mosque or praying with family, because we are always behind the man. And even that, I was like, but why, again, like why is it different for you and why is it different for me? So I always like saw these little differences, and I just thought, if we are supposed to be equal, human beings, why is just not clear cut? Um, but yeah, I always just had doubts about that. And when I was like praying and everything, I was just a very lazy Muslim. I could not get up for prayer. I couldn't keep track of prayer sometimes. I tried to be very devout in my prayers and being consistent with it for about 6 months, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I think in the back of my mind, I just accepted, you know what, I'm gonna go to hell. Maybe I'll go to hell, but I will do my best to just be a good human being and just do best that I can to do good by people, and just just be a good person. And that's kind of what I went through, because I always had conflicts with the faith, the Muslim identity itself, and being a Muslim woman myself is just, I've always been in conflict with that, because I never felt like I was not never Muslim enough, or I could never be enough for people, because everybody else had their standards and check boxes of what a Muslim meant to them, or their version of Islam that they were taught. But I think like when right now, as of today, considering that I am fasting, I am only fasting because I'm living at home. and I'm living with my parents. And I always felt that, I don't think I am Muslim for myself, really. I think I'm just Muslim for my family, and for my parents. Um, so yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a good amount of introspection right there, that you know why you're fasting, and that you wouldn't be fasting if you had the choice. Um, and I'm curious about something you said earlier. You said that you tried to be consistent for 6 months, and you just couldn't do it anymore. Why
Mhm.
couldn't you do it anymore?
Just out of laziness. It's just knowing that there are so many steps just to find your connection with God in a way, to pray. I thought, why can't we just pray, just without having to make sure that we are clean and everything. I understand like why that is required. I just thought in my mind, I thought like I could have a conviction and my like a connection with God without all of that. And I always tried to, find something in the religion that could justify my way of thinking, but of course that's wrong. Like you is, part of, the pillars of being a Muslim, that you have to pray 5 times a day and you have to do wudu, and there are like 100 different things that break your wudu. And like the things I couldn't take seriously that break your wudu is like farting. I'm like, so I don't have a connection with God, and like the whole prayer is dismissed just because I farted, and it's just those little teeny tiny things that just kind of diminished my need or like want to continue praying, because I thought I could hold faith without doing it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for answering that. Um, do you feel like you still have faith?
Mm, I'm always going back and forth with it every year. I always viewed it from a very agnostic point of view, that there is someone out there possibly, but I don't know. I don't have enough information, or I don't know enough in all the knowledge in the entire world if God exists. But I would like to believe that he is real, but I kind of want to believe that me existing on this planet, just us existing on this planet and being a good person, would be enough, and our actions and our character would be enough, to be judged by the creator.
Okay. But would you say that qualifies as having faith in the creator existing?
A little bit, yeah. But I always go back and forth with that because I don't know. But yeah, I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't get to speak to a lot of agnostic Muslims, as you put it. Um, so it's always interesting to hear where they're coming from. Um, yeah, there's a question here for you, if you don't mind. The Roaring Man is asking, have you thought of leaving Islam since you don't behave in it and becoming a deist?
No, and I think one of the biggest reasons, because the the punishment for apostasy is, of course, death. And I don't feel safe telling anybody, which is why I don't show my face. I don't show my real name. And I really do commend every single, ex-Muslim out there who does put their face on, face out there, their names out there. And I just don't feel brave enough to do that. And I don't want to, have the responsibilities and consequences of having to come out or even hold that label openly. So mainly fear.
Understandable. I know everyone always talks about the death penalty for apostasy, and there are many Muslims who aren't aware of it or don't even believe that it's true. But regardless of whether the people around you believe in the death penalty or not, it could still be very difficult to come out, or these consequences that you mentioned are something to consider. Um, do you know the extent of the consequences that you might face if you are more open about your beliefs or lack thereof?
I think maybe I honestly don't want to think about it, because I know if I was, living in the US, it would be much more different. I think maybe my siblings would be much more open to hearing me out, but with my parents, I'm just afraid that they would just disown me, which I have come to terms with accepting eventually, because they are very traditional, very conservative, but they do love me. But I am, just trying to make sure that I protect myself, um, and, protect my mental health. And if it comes to a point in the future where they won't be able to tolerate that, um, I can accept, the punishment of being disowned and never being able to talk to them again. But I'm really grateful that they do love me enough that they know that I don't pray, that they know that I don't read the Quran, and they are disappointed. Like, they may not say it outwardly, but I can just feel it. In the years since I last prayed, or they've known since I've last prayed, or I've touched the Quran, and it's really it makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel ashamed in a way, because I think shame and guilt is just one of the earlier sentiments that I grew up with when I learned about what it was to be a Muslim early on. And growing up, in a Pakistani household too, shame is kind of embedded in everything, especially if you're a woman. So yeah, it's just kind of, I already have those feelings. I already feel guilty and shameful about how I'm feeling, anyways, or even going, on live with some, and talking about this, or even, looking up videos about ex-Muslims, is always that is always stuck at the back of my mind. But I know that how they expect me to live my life is much more different than what I want for myself, and it's hard to come to accept. But yeah, I'm gonna have to accept that one day that they're not gonna like it.
I relate to a lot of what you said. And I'm wondering, you said that, yeah, shame and guilt are a huge part of your life, or they were when you first started having these questions and thoughts. Do you feel like that is getting any better or worse or about the same?
Just about the same, because I live a double life. There's so many things that my parents don't know about me in my life, and the things that I've done. And I know that if they ever found out, it only takes one person, and one person to tell them. And I just feel that it could lead to consequences that I don't even want to question about or even ask them about. Um, and I kind of safeguarded that part of me, was just kind of telling myself, you live in the US, there is definitely people here that can help you if it ever comes to that. And thankfully, I am financially stable enough that I can, be on my own.
It's unfortunate that we have to think that far ahead, um, and wonder how far our loved ones would go in the other direction, how much they would change if they found out. And I imagine this is the kind of paranoia that someone who steals from their family would feel, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I wonder what they'll do when they find out that I drained their bank account or something.
Yeah. I always tell myself that if I was born into another like typical normal American family, I would be the star child. But it's not like that in my household. Because I think it's just something that I've heard very recently. But if you are a good daughter, it doesn't always mean that you're a happy daughter. Because if you don't live your life in the way that your parents want you to, it's gonna, lead to consequences and feelings and a lot of issues for yourself. Even though you are, convicted in your freedom to be who you are, it comes with a lot of consequences. And especially in our situation, coming from this background, this religious background, even though we shouldn't give it. Can I curse? I can cuss, right? I think I've heard people cuss on your live, right?
Yeah, express yourself. You're not censored here.
Okay. So I've, oh my God, I forgot what I was about to say. But what was I about to say?
You're about to curse and you got very excited at the possibility of cursing. And now
Yeah.
you have that power. You just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, but I was gonna say that there's like a lot of people that, oh man, I forgot my train of thought. But basically, like, if,
You were talking about how you would have been the model daughter and, had it
yeah,
not been for your beliefs.
yes, yep. I think you just face a whole lot of shit. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You face a whole lot of shit. Just going through that. Living your whole life. Living a double life like that. And it's just it's just the things that we have to deal with from this culture, because and from this religious background, because even though you shouldn't give a shit what other people think about you, it's okay to be who you are and express yourself. It's that space, that kind of love and that kind of comfort is not allotted to us in this environment. So even though we shouldn't care what other people think, we have to, in a way, because even though you move far away and stuff like that, that shame, that guilt, people just talking, what will people think about you, that sentiment alone runs so deep that you can literally be killed for it.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine even if you're far away from, if your family would never kill you, and that doesn't apply to everybody, unfortunately. But say for a fact that they wouldn't lay a finger on you or harm you, um, but just that sentiment of what would people think that you grew up with from a very young age, especially in a Pakistani background, and a lot of other people can relate to, not just Pakistanis. Even if you're not religious anymore, even if you're not worried about someone ratting you out and someone coming to hunt you, you might still have the same feelings and carry them forward without religion being involved at all, and it'll take years to get over that. um, you might feel like everyone's always watching you all the time and judging you, in public, because that's what you felt like at home and in your community. Do you find that relatable?
Yes, 100%, 100%. I do want to talk about something. I'm not going to expand on it. If anyone has seen my, live with Nuria, I did talk about something that was very personal to me, and I just want to give a trigger warning in this live that it is something pertaining to child abuse. So to anyone who's listening, I'm about to go into something, but just really quick though, just kind of an overview. But I've been sexually abused and molested in my household by a Muslim man. There have been various instances of male family members in my family who've literally, the things that they do should put them on a sex offenders list. And a lot of those experiences and a lot of the stuff that came with it kind of added to me now just wanting to be a Muslim or be associated with Muslims in general, like with especially my family, especially to people that thought that was okay or just overlook it. Because because when I did tell an adult at the time when that happened, they didn't do anything. They told me just not to tell anyone. So that's what they basically said. They just kind of kept it hush hush and everything. And I kind of I internalized. I was like, let me just try to let it go because it's not such a fucking big deal. A lot of people go through it. Unfortunately, I can, go through this. But I realized that later on in life, how much more it actually affected me more than I did. So I think, those experiences are so common in our culture from these religious backgrounds. And when I hate, and this is something that really gets to me all the time, whenever I hear about child sex abuse cases around the world in a lot of Muslim countries, is how much lack of attention is given, especially from the West, from the Muslim communities. Um, I don't like when the Muslim community or Twitter or whoever talks about Islamophobia, it's only a matter if a white person is doing it. But when there's a Muslim that's, um, violating another Muslim or, killing another Muslim woman or child or sexually abusing another child or person, it's, oh, well, they're not true Muslims or is not, real Islam. But it's so frustrating because that's just such an easy way to dismiss it. And I've paid attention to the kind of language, whether it's digitally or in person, that they use when those topics do arise, because it's just so dismissive. I don't know how to explain it, but okay, maybe they're not real Muslims or whatever, as you may say, but it's still a fucking issue. These things still go on, and even though they are not Muslims, the person that happened, that was abused or went through something very traumatic or was killed for these very disgusting reasons, you should care about them. Why don't you care more about them? But you only care about them when white people do it to us. Then it becomes an issue. But when it's our own, it's not an issue. And it's just that I wish there was a much more stronger word than hypocrisy for something like this, because it's so evil seeing it happen in real time, to many, many different societies. I mean, different countries right now. For example, in Afghanistan, because I rarely heard anyone from, especially the West, talking about those issues, especially just within the Muslim community and the mosque and stuff. I know there are like people that are work with human rights that definitely do care about that, that are from an Afghan background that do definitely care about that. But it's just it doesn't make as much noise as like, oh well, something that has something that occurs within like a Muslim community that has to do with bigotry or an anti-Muslim attack, which does deserve the time and the attention, but so does everything else around the world that has to do with Muslim communities as well.
I'm so sorry that you went through that, and like you said, it's not uncommon, unfortunately. And about what you last said, I guarantee you there's more harm done to Muslims and ex-Muslims by other Muslims than all the amount of Islamophobia in the world combined. Like
Yes.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah, no, I would too. I can never say it out loud because I think I really hate to say this, but I think a lot of Muslims, especially Pakistanis, just from my experience, they love to be the victims. And I'm not saying that, their experiences with white people and, the Western societies and how they view them is not terrible. The racist attacks and, the anti-Muslim bigotry is terrible. But there's also things, what is done to them, to those men, to those boys, they turn around and do it to us. They do it to their women. They do it to their daughters. They do it to, the female members of their family. Horrible, detrimental things to our psyche, to our physical beings. It's just evil is not a strong enough word for me to, describe the things that I've seen or I've heard people do, back in the homeland. And the fact that we can't talk about it because you're defaming your own culture. um if your culture, if our culture vouches for something like this or but brushes all these things in a rug, is it really a culture that we should stand by? I mean, I know that like, the culture consists of the people, but why are we as the people not doing something to change that? And I really do appreciate any other progressives out there, whether it is from, different Muslim communities and societies are trying to find a way to, change that outlook with Islam. And I really definitely commend them for that. But it is so hard to do when like the loudest voices, especially in the US, is completely going against that because they can't look back. They cannot look past that Islamophobia, because once you go past that, if you can't listen to any kind of criticism, any single person's story, because like, oh no, this is too Islamophobic, like no, we can't talk about that because you're just making our faith look bad. But why is that the priority? Why is that prioritized? I mean, people are dying, have been dying. Why is that
Well, they
prioritized?
think, well, here's one answer to why it's prioritized, because they think in their belief system that at the end of life, God is going to take care of everyone who was harmed, be it if they were assaulted by a Muslim or otherwise. God is going to make everything fair. But in the meantime, let's not make God and Islam look bad.
Yeah.
But everything else God is going to handle in the afterlife. But making God look bad, that will handle in this life. We'll go protest. We will be violent because of drawings of the prophet or whatever it may be. Anything PR related, we will deal with it now. Anything actually about helping people, let God deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what it is because, only Allah knows and stuff. And I always joke, I'm like, well, maybe he doesn't know that well. But like it's horrible. And it is very frustrating to deal with because, I love Muslims. Like I love my Muslim family, but I really wish that they could understand that it is okay for you to look beyond your doorstep, to listen to other people and their experiences. That is the most important thing. That's the only way that you are able to show any kind of humanity. Because I think when, especially people in the West, when they try to kind of sugarcoat Islam in a way, kind of like pink Islam in a way, to kind of appeal to the Western you know crowd and everything. It's like you are hiding the main elements of what Islam means, just so you can have people recruited into the religion, or just is basically PR. But that's why any criticism of it is just, it makes it so untouchable when people do that. And I think, like, the other thing I wanted to add is that, a lot of people in the West, especially Western Muslims, they talk about how, Islam means peace. Islam means, having compassion, being a good human being. And I would love for that to be true. I would, in my hearts of hearts, I would love for that to just be true, but it's not true. And then the thing that always gets me too is whenever you talk about these other different countries, different governments that politicize Islam, or they have these laws and everything. When you bring that up to many different scholars, which I've seen you dissect in a way in your videos, a lot of them say, this isn't the correct interpretation. This is the correct interpretation. But why is that incorrect interpretation even exist? Why is that even there? I mean, if we have Afghanistan saying that they, practice the most extreme form of religion, but why does that exist in the first place? What have you done to combat that? Because if you're so against Islamophobia, if you're so about peace, it being meaning peace, 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 then why don't you do whatever you can to make sure that is institutionalized, making sure that that is something that is reflected in reality? But people don't do that. People don't try to do that. They just say, oh, they're not real Muslims, and that is it. These motherfuckers are like killing everybody. And that's just the way that they want to push it to the side, like, oh well, they're not real Muslims, and what we have going on over here is good, because we are the good ones here.
I mean, it's hard for them. Can you imagine? You were talking about Afghanistan and the problem
Yeah.
of assault or marrying young girls. How can a Sunni Muslim fight that in the West
Yeah.
or whatever, advocate against that? Because if they start saying, hey, this is wrong, you shouldn't be marrying off a girl before she's even finished her education, someone else can say, but our prophet did that. What are you saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's the other thing too, because I think, like, people can bring up all of the interpretations they want. That does not mean that someone is not gonna, like, use that to inflict harm and perpetuate harm towards another individual, and use it for their own, ego and reasons and sexual desires disgustingly. Because I have no problems with anyone practicing their faith in a peaceful way, in a loving, humane way. That is how they see it, but that does not change how other people, use that as a tool to do terrible, terrible things around the world.
I agree. It's that narrative that they always go back to, like you said, that's not a real Muslim, that's not a real Muslim, and it's all about clearing Islam's name of the crime rather than actually doing anything about the crime. uh, Paradoxically, they would still count that not real Muslim as a real Muslim when it serves their point. Like when they're
Yeah.
saying there's 1 point whatever billion Muslims in the world, they don't count out all, or like they don't discount all the people who have had someone in their family sexually assaulted and they covered up for it, because that would include like half of Pakistan, unfortunately,
Yes,
and
no,
other countries.
90%. Yeah.
Yep. It's not just about being the horrible person who did the crime. It's the community around it that enables it and covers it up. Like I can tell you this confidently. I don't care if someone says this is Islamophobic. The rate of domestic abuse, let alone sexual assault, but domestic abuse alone in Muslim communities and families is way, way higher than a secular or non-religious family in the West. Let's just take that example. I
Yeah.
can guarantee that. Like everyone, I've spoken to so many people who tell me stories of like domestic abuse I've seen and I've experienced in my own life. Sexual abuse, I've spoken to so many women and they tell me either it's happened to them on the street or in their own family, and the relatives, the way that they react is almost always, even if there's sympathy there, like there might not be sympathy at all, but even if there is, it'll just be like, I know this sucks, but let's cover it up because you will look bad. We will look bad.
Yeah. And may Allah make it easy for you. Oh my gosh.
If
But
anything, if they might even say, well, what did you do to invite that? Like
yeah,
maybe Allah is testing you.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100,000%. Because I think if we were able to look at this in an investigative way, investigate, societies or families, interviews and everything, to just, see what is the rate of sexual abuse, domestic violence in these societies all over the world in Muslim societies, I think it was skyrocket, versus what, you see in secular societies. But no, I completely agree. And the other sentiment that I wanted to just kind of like the narrative that I wanted to talk about with you is the idea that Islam gave women rights. And I hear that a lot, especially as a Pakistani, especially with, a lot of women empowering movements that goes on in that country, because it's very commendable, because you are literally risking your life as a woman when you do speak out, or as a man if you do speak out. And I think one of the things that I think about when I hear Islam gave women's rights is, okay, if it gave us right, if God gave us rights, why is our livelihood in the hands and the mercy of men all the time in these societies? Who makes up these laws? Who writes these laws? Who writes these constitutions? Who is at every single corner making sure that, that these laws are instituted? Um, but yeah, like that is barely ever brought up, or people don't want to make the link that
I mean, I
having.
can give you the Islamic answer if that'll help further
Sure,
the conversation.
sure.
I mean, the Islamic answer would be, verse 434, I think it was. الرجال قوامون على النساء. Men are caretakers or dominant over women. Men are at the top of the hierarchy. So why Islam gave women rights and put men in charge? Because men are biologically the way God created them, on top of the hierarchy. And it
Mhm,
sucks that the men are abusing their power and not doing it exactly how Allah intended. And if
mhm.
men only followed Islam exactly to the letter, women would have better lives than any other women in the world.
Yeah,
What do you
and
think of that?
yeah, it is completely false, because I think if it was followed exactly to the letter, we would be in a much worse state. Because it's much more fundamental when you and as I've watched a lot of ex-Muslims, dissect these interpretations and these hadiths, because it's so frustrating, having to watch this, but at the same time knowing that Muslims don't take it seriously. They don't consider the hadiths as well. But you have to have that context with the Quran. And I was gonna
Even
let
the
you.
Quran alone is damning. Like people always dismiss the hadith. The Quran alone is very damning.
Mhm. Yeah, I will say, I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research, so I really can't like debate anyone. So if I ever join a live stream, it is never to like debate anyone. I'm just always just here to tell my experience and my thoughts, and just what I've observed throughout my life. But I don't believe that any religion could give a woman or any human being rights, because religion is man-made, in my opinion. Even saying this as an agnostic, because I think that, like, you can have, I guess, God-given rights, because if you believe that God created you, you can believe that. But I don't think that religion itself, especially like Islam, could give you rights.
I I agree with what you said, and I think that whole Islam gave women rights argument is it's so sad that they're both talking about something that happened allegedly 1400 years ago, and
Mhm.
that's their win. Is it was better than the shittiest of conditions 1400 years ago. Now where do we go from there? Why are women thriving in other countries a lot better than in Muslim countries? Now, of course, religious apologists will say a few different things, like no, the sexual assault is way worse in Western countries, and people get drunk and assault people all the time, and it's such a hell to live there, and women are always stripped naked, and objectified. And in the Muslim world, it's only because we don't follow Islam correctly. Did you hear these themes all the time in discussions about
Yes.
women?
Oh my goodness, yes, because it's not followed correctly. Then what is the correct way, though? Like, which is the correct way? That's what I always asked, and I never got a clear cut answer, because I always went back to, like, this is what was instructed to us, and blah 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 blah. But I'm like, but how does that look though? Like if it's, not being followed correctly, I mean, I don't know how to make sense of that, honestly, when I get told that, because what we, what a lot of women deal with in those societies, it is going to be much more worse if it's, followed all the way down to the T. Which a lot of people don't want to make that link, because if in order to make that link to the religion itself, you would have to admit that there's something wrong with the religion, and nobody wants to do that. And I think a lot of people just aren't brave to do that, because that would mean that you would have to introspect as in within your identity, how that can be wrong and how, that can be criticized. Because, a lot of people, especially the ones I grew up with within my family, they believe that being a Muslim equals instantly of being a good person. So a person, that's a Muslim that does something horrible, it's like, oh well, he can't be Muslim. How can, they do something like that? But I just wish people would understand that these things can be true at the same time. White supremacists go to church every Sunday. Racist bigots, they pray 5 times a day. They, fast Ramadan. You know, pedophiles pray 5 times a day. And surely there are a lot of people that, you have a lot of faith in, within these mosques, as for imams and scholars that support that. And yeah, there's just a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, it's well, you hit the nail right on the head. If they acknowledge any of these things, they would be saying there's something wrong with Islam. Even if they're just saying Islam is so difficult to understand that millions of people can misunderstand it and then use it to cause harm. That alone is an admission of Islam having a flaw. And if they do that, they become a kafir. I mean, you say that you're an agnostic Muslim, but obviously most Muslims would classify you as a disbeliever, basically.
Mhm.
And they wouldn't want to go that far in their community, among other people, and in their own heads. They don't want to cross that line. So I have very little to no faith in progressiveness of Islam. I don't get in the way of it per se, but I don't
Mhm.
like the whitewashing. I let them do their own thing for the most part. But I
Mhm.
know that the way out is education and eventually leaving the beliefs behind, because you can only polish a turd so far. Like you can't make a diamond out of it, as far as
Yeah.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think Islam itself, just religion itself, you can admit that it served for the purpose in the time that it came about. And I think that is
Mhm.
okay to, like, admit, especially if you're a practicing Muslim now. And I think, like, for me personally, and it's fine if anyone disagrees with it, even if you disagree with it. But I think if you have your own interpretation and how you want to apply it to your life, even though it is wrong and you do admit that is wrong, but you are aware of that, and you still call yourself a Muslim, I think that is fine. Because as long as you're not doing anything to harm other people with your way of life, I have no problem with it. But when it is imposed on other individuals, when you allow your interpretation of this religion to be sanctioned in government and in state, then it becomes a problem.
I agree. And what do you think is the solution to all this, or a step in the right direction?
I don't know. That's too much of a big issue for just for one individual like myself or even you to have a solution for. But like, I don't have all the answers. I mean, the world for me is like so big that is bigger than religion for me. Like, I think when when I was told about Allah, or and when I went to Sunday school, I thought, this man, this person, this creator is like bigger than anything. It's bigger than someone telling me that I need to wear a hijab, or I am not Muslim in the way that they think that they're Muslim. Like, these little things are beyond for the creator. So I've always thought that I could never have a solution to, like, something like this, or kind of reforming an entire religion, or kind of using you know these progressive values to kind of move forward, because I don't know how that could be. There's so many of us within that have so many different identities within our culture, with our religious beliefs, that we just have all of us, we do have a different connection, if we choose to have a connection with God, within our Muslim identities. And I think it's just too much of a big um, thing for anyone to solve. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to say that when you don't know. I mean, yeah, I wasn't exactly expecting the solution, but it's good to know your perspective on it.
Yeah.
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 I'm glad you got to call and let off some steam, and I hope that this was beneficial for you.
Yeah, I do want to say, like, I really like your channel, and I really like your approach of how you talk to people and how you like talk about things that are very extremely disturbing and upsetting. I think you have a very like calm vibe, and I think there was like a user, I think it was just one of the videos I was watching where I think someone said that you create such a safe space for people. I believe, and I think if you were like every single Muslim that I met, I think I would have stayed Muslim or like had a stronger faith, because you seem, just from watching you, you seem very calm. You seem to be very cool and calm and collected and very kind and compassionate. And I wish I could see that in a lot of people in my life. So thank you so much for what you do, Aladdin. And I really, really appreciate your channel. And I hope that, like, as much as you possibly can, keep these live streams going, because I think what you do, it makes a big of a difference between life and death for anyone out there.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Take care. You have a great day.
Thanks. You as well.
Bye.
Yeah, I don't do very well with compliments, but I really do appreciate them. So if my response is short, it's not because I wasn't listening. It's ironic because I feel like whatever qualities people are praising me for are the ones that are the opposite of what I had to deal with a lot in my life. So, if I'm being called calm, that's because I had to deal with a lot of anger. If I'm being called empathetic, it's because I've had to witness a lot of lack of empathy. Not that the people around me were extra cruel or anything. I feel like I grew up in a society that fundamentally lacked empathy for the other based on religious classification. So, yeah, it took me a while, and it's very difficult. It put me at odds with the people around me, and I never felt like I fit in. So I'm glad that being here is helping other people feel like they fit in. Let me read a few comments before I get to the next caller. We still have 3 more callers today. Well, thank you for the super chat, Nazon. Nazon was saying Islam is difficult to modernize in the way other religions have because they claim it's the direct word of God. Yeah, and after that, they claim that it's the final and no more revisions. It's the final word of God. So, and all the revisions or interpretations of other religions are heretic, and the whole point of Islam is to come and clear all this up, is the narrative. So it's hard to reform it when it's supposed to be perfect. It's blasphemous to reform it or to attempt to. Yeah, some people were saying, I hope you I hope you don't stop. Like I mentioned before, I'm very happy that I've been afforded this chance to work on this channel full time, thanks to all of you. Everyone watching, commenting, the YouTube members, the patrons, all that stuff. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to do this, and I will do this as long as I can afford to. So yeah, thank you. I found this a bit ironic. Homo sapien was saying Islam is a system that condemns hypocrites or munafiqeen, but it is the very reason for people to become and stay this way. I wish people could be open about their disbelief. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk in the Quran about munafiqeen, people who pretend to be believers. I can imagine that a lot of people pretended to be believers around Muhammad to maybe for political or financial gain, or to just be part of the winning team, so that they don't get steamrolled over by the Muslim tribe. I can't imagine what their motivations might have been, but I suspect that there were a lot of people pretending to be Muslims even after Muhammad's death. There was a lot of infighting, and now a lot of people have to pretend to be Muslims. Like Muslims themselves would say, if you left the religion, that's fine, just be quiet about it. So you're asking us to be munafiqeen. You're asking us to pretend, because like the first caller, Sulail, was talking about, you can even go out of your way to go eat privately during Ramadan. You're not rubbing it in anyone's face, but they will sniff you out and they will punish you for it. So which is it? Like, you want people to pretend to the point that they're indistinguishable from Muslims? That's literally what your God condemns, munafiqeen. You want people to act like you just so that you can shield yourself from the realization that there are people around you who don't believe what you believe, that no, this is not a universal self-evident belief, and no, every assertion about it's like an authoritarian state where there's only so-called peace and stability if it's being enforced by making everybody conform to it. And yeah, it's people usually use the word cult or dictatorship, and in some situations they're not that far off, unfortunately. ES1002, thanks for the super chat again. It says, isn't Muhammad a kafir? He broke his wife limit of 4 by having 9. No, that's something. The amount of verses in the Quran that are just about Muhammad and his sex life and his love life, or whatever you want to call it, is laughable, because it's supposed to be a guide for the entirety of mankind forever. And some people would say, well, the way that he treated his wives, or we can learn from his like housewives lessons. We can learn from them. But what can you really learn from God telling Muhammad, you can have any woman you want if she offers herself to you. You don't have to stick to the limit of 4. Like, how does that qualify as a lesson for humanity? And the things that he did with his wives, or the way that he treated his wives, I've made a video about this before. His wife Sauda, who was getting a bit old, and she was worried that he was going to leave her, and she said, hey, here, take some of my rights so you can spend more time with your young wife. And Muhammad and Allah codified it. They made it a rule that any other man can expect that from his wife, from one of his wives. So what good lesson are we learning here except an abusive dynamic? So yeah, no, Muhammad has exceptions for himself, but even if we allow him those exceptions, it's very obvious that this guy is just saying, oh, wait a second, I'm getting a message from Allah. Allah says you have to do this, and it serves him right. What a coincidence. Before I get to the next caller, there's another comment from Homo sapien also. A lot of people fear hell. It's really scary to question the authority of Allah, Muhammad, or the Quran. The fear of eternal punishment blocks critical thinking and rationality. Those are exactly the videos that I'm working on. The videos that I'm working on this for this week and the next week, my experience with the Islamic hell and ways to get around your fear of hell. And I can tell you that even while preparing for these videos, I don't believe in hell one bit right now. I have not a shred of fear or uncertainty about hell. Not at all. But a lot of the emotions that it invokes in you, and the ways that it trains you to think, they stick for long after that. So it's very difficult for me to write about it, even though I feel nothing about hell itself. I notice the themes that it has ingrained in me are still there, and it can be very upsetting and difficult to verbalize. So I sit and I write every day for hours, and all of that just so I can write, a 15-minute script, and it's very difficult. And in that, I acknowledge that the fear of hell keeps a lot of people in line. It keeps them in the belief, even if they don't have a belief. Thankfully, I'm no longer one of those people, but I hope that I can tell them what happened with me so that they can also figure out how to get out of it. And Debway, thanks for the super chat, says, just for support, I freaking love you. You're helping a lot of people. Hi from the Netherlands. Well, I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. And last comment, the Roaring Man says, are you going to do an Eid special live stream? That's not a bad idea. I hadn't really thought of it. Let me just write that down so I don't forget to do that. Sure, just give me ideas for what you would like to see for an Eid special. Just, a call-in live stream or something. Okay, I will get to the next caller now. The next caller is Placarded. I hope you're ready because I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good. How are
Hi,
you?
I am doing great. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for asking.
Uh, is my voice changer working?
Yes, it seems to be.
Okay. Um, so I don't really know where to start. I guess I'll just say my story, how I left the religion.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm a 15-year-old from North Africa. Basically, I left the religion after discovering I was gay. This was like uh, when I was 12 or 13. I had a really huge fear of hell back then, so it took a while. But I got into atheist YouTube, like YouTubers like GM Skeptic. That really helped me get over my fear of hell, and also uh, helped me defeat the idea of God. Then I finally just left. Uh, Leaving hasn't really affected me because I wasn't really that attached to the religion. But Islam is still affects my day to day life, especially with my relationship with my family and the, and having friends like female friends because their families don't really like that. Yeah.
Do you, out of curiosity, do you get along with male friends or female
Yeah,
friends
I
easier?
do.
Mm,
Well, I find girls to be more approachable. They're kinder, I guess. But I have mild social anxiety, so I can't really make friends that easily. I was lucky enough to get adopted by some extroverts in first grade, in middle school. So I have some friends, but it my social life isn't that bad.
great to hear. But yeah, I can understand why having friends of the opposite sex would be um, frowned upon, if not
Yeah.
disallowed in some circles.
hmm Uh,
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about uh, my relationship with my family. I really love my family, especially my parents and my brother. I just don't know how I would deal with their reaction if I ever come out as either gay or Muslim or ex-Muslim. I mean, um, especially that. Oh, and also my friends too, not only my family, because I keep seeing my closest friends getting more and more religious every day, especially in this month in Ramadan. And it's really sad seeing that. I know that if I ever come out, they would not like that. And if I ever do get the opportunity to go to a secular country, maybe live in US or Canada, I don't know how I would deal with living a double life or if I'd ever come out of them. Because if I do come out, I'd feel like I'd put them in a situation where they'd be forced to, react badly. So I don't know if I
Wait a
would
second.
ever.
Let's pause on that for a second. You said
Okay.
you would be putting them in a situation where they would be forced to react poorly.
Yeah.
I just want to
Well,
highlight that for a moment because I know you're not saying this intentionally, but it sounds like you see it as inevitable and it would be your fault that you are putting them in a situation where they have no choice but to react negatively.
Well, you see, that's the problem. I know that they're not really forced to. They do have a choice to how they'd react, but there's a really big chance that they would react really badly because they have been conditioned their whole lives, to hate disbelievers and to reject everyone that murtads, kafirs.
Mhm.
Mm,
I agree with you there, but I want to point out because I've had similar realizations over how I think about my actions and coming out and all that kind of stuff. You're right that they have been conditioned and there's a big chance that they will act negatively. And then it might be logical for you to see that you are the catalyst or you're the trigger. You're the one who's deciding that if you come out, they will act negatively. no, you might be right in giving them a bit of cutting them a bit of slack that you know in advance how they're going to react because of their upbringing and their conditioning and all that, but it doesn't mean that the responsibility then jumps to you. It can still be the fault of the religion, their upbringing, your loved ones
Yeah.
themselves, but it doesn't have to be therefore it's me, because your fault in this situation is just being more introspective and more aware than them,
Mm.
and that's not something to be faulted for.
Yeah, so I do get that. I do understand that. I have been thinking about that a lot. I have settled on that, the conclusion, but it's still hard to make a decision if I will ever come out or not. Because if I do get the chance to live in a secular country, I would be
Mhm.
forced to go back to, to my country to in Eid or Ramadan to celebrate with my family. Of course, they would pressure me to come back here. So I would rather just tell them and and I then wouldn't have to deal with that. But it just feels so wrong to do that. It still feels wrong to come out as ex-Muslim,
No, I understand what you mean, and I'm not telling you. I didn't say what I said last to tell you that. Therefore, you should come out to your parents as soon as you can, or as soon as you go to another country. No, no, that's not what I mean. But it's good to have perspective on if you ever do find yourself in a situation where it's beneficial to you. You always need to do the math in your head. What's the best thing for me? So if pretending to be Muslim and going back for Eid and all that is the best thing for you, then you're going to do that for as long as you can. If at some point it feels like you're independent enough and safe enough and confident enough that you can tell them, and then you don't have to go back and pretend, that might be the best thing for you. Um, you definitely should not rush it, and you shouldn't do it before you're certain that it's not getting in the way of having the future that you want. So, not
Mm-hmm.
anytime soon. Even when you say you go to study in university, you're still
Yeah.
dependent on them. You don't want to, mess with things then. But it's still important to plant the seed right now to know that it wouldn't be, however it comes out, whenever it comes out, it's not you forcing them into a corner to react negatively. Um, but obviously, don't rush that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do
Mhm.
understand that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, Another thing that I wanted to talk about is just it's so disappointing to see how Islam is still so spread around the world after more than 1,000 years, and we still have to deal with its bullshit even in our progressive world right now. I don't see Islam going away anytime soon, and it's really uh, heartbreaking, I guess.
I don't see Islam going away completely anytime soon, but I foresee and I will do my best to make sure that this happens, that at least Islam and Islamic beliefs are identified for what they are and viewed accurately, so that those within the belief, if they, so that people are don't gaslight Muslims themselves into thinking that there's nothing wrong. If we openly acknowledge that there are things that we find wrong with Islam, then the way it happens right now, there might be a questioning Muslim, and they try to talk about it, and they be told by even non-Muslims, no, 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 Islam is peaceful, Islam is good, everything's great, you're just wrong. I think the more that we talk about it, the more that we create awareness, the more that we criticize pointedly, Islam's not going to go away anytime soon, but it'll be easier to identify for exactly what it is, and it'll help people within it leave it, change it, whatever they want to do. I have hope in that, but no, it's not going to disappear.
Yeah, I agree. That's why we need more voices like you, like Apostate Prophet, like Infidel Noodle, because you guys are the ones who are really getting that point across, especially in the West. I don't know about the Arabic speaking world or the Desi's, but at least some people are getting that point.
Oh, there are a lot of Arab YouTubers who are doing this way better than I am. So I'm very happy to tell you that in the Arab world there are even more ex-Muslim YouTubers than in the English-speaking world,
I haven't
and
really
they
seen
don't
a lot.
all. What's that?
I haven't really seen a lot of them.
Do you understand Arabic?
Yes,
Like
yes.
okay, so yeah, look up Qusay Baitar, Sharif Jabir. Who else? Um, I don't have all their names at the tip of my tongue, but
It's okay.
Siraj Hayani is one
Mm-hmm.
of them.
Yeah.
Al-Nahda al-Fikriya, that's his channel. There's several more even. There's a guy called Zombie, I think.
All right,
He
I know him. Yeah.
yeah. There's a bunch of them, and Haman, his Qusay's friend and collaborator. So yeah, might be worth looking them up. And there are
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
also Hawarat Nidal is another guy you should look up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of them, thankfully.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Uh, yeah, that's it. I didn't really have a lot to talk about today.
That's okay. Have you ever spoken to anyone around you about your belief or lack thereof or anything related?
Oh no, 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 absolutely not. There is one person that I hope to talk about to talk about this because I have a suspicion that they might be an ex-Muslim. I don't know though. I might look into them more. They're my friend's older sister. I don't know though. I still don't know. I'm pretty sure she's queer and also progressive. I don't know.
Okay. Be very careful.
Yeah.
Obviously, when talking to them about this. Um, I forgot to mention, by the way, I've actually spoken to him in person, but I sorry, I forgot to mention his name, Adam al-Masri. We have one live stream together, but he has an English channel and also a very popular Arabic channel, so it might be
Okay.
worth checking out.
Hmm. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm glad that you got to call and talk to us about this, and I hope that this was a beneficial call for you.
Yeah. Thank you. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, likewise, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye. All right, what is next? So we've got two more callers. The next caller is Farooq. Farooq, if you are ready, I am adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, because I'm driving, I might be, going through places where I could lose the signal. But anyway, I mean, I
Well,
listen to
make sure
your
you keep your eyes on the road.
sure, yeah. I mean, I do my best. So I listen to your podcast a lot. Sometimes I turn it on and just, hide the phone under my bed because I don't want my wife to be listening to it. But you're kind of addictive, now lately. So uh, the reason why I called, it's like I hear a lot of stories that callers come to your stream and then they go through the struggles and the different, and they're still, after all the struggles, they still say they're agnostic, like they're still struggling with the question of God. Like, so then I get intrigued, because I'm very simple guy. It's black or white for me, it's there or it's not there. It's very few cases when I see shades in between yes and no. So why would you think that even in, if I'm not wrong, maybe you also classify yourself as agnostic. So what's the agnosticism is about? Like, is there a big guy who came out of nothing and who started all this and he's still around somewhere? What is the agnosticism that I fail to understand?
So I'm also hesitant to label myself as an agnostic in general because some people think it means that I think there's a 50-50 chance that there's a guy up there. That's not how I think of it. I'm not even sure if I would use the label agnostic, but if I were to say I'm agnostic, and maybe this is not the accurate definition, agnostic in the sense that I don't know what is the explanation, if there is a God or not. I don't know. Is it plausible that there might have been a creator or multiple creators? Sure, maybe. But so I'm not taking the position that there is no possibility that there could have been a creator or something of the sort. But at the same time, I'm atheist in the sense that any person who tells me I know that there's a creator and the description is so and so, I think all of that is man-made. So I don't know if that does qualify as agnosticism or not.
Yeah, it probably does, but then that leaves me, like thirsty. Because when you say I don't know, but there's a guy who did it, so you leave that question open. For me, it's not even a question. There is absolutely 110% no way, Jose. Like, this universe is so complicated, so big, so vast, so huge. What would be the creator like me? And where would he come from? You know?
I mean, I'm with you
So,
with the idea,
so
but
this
how does
is,
it make you certain? How
yeah.
does that? I'm with you that it's a
It's a
ridiculous
simple answer
idea.
is, simple answer
Yeah.
is, yeah. Yeah.
No, I agree with
Simple
you
answer
there, but
is,
how do you
like,
know
it's nature.
for certain?
Because the same question will come back. We're struggling the question for the origin of universe. Who created? Because even if you create one creator or 10 creators, that question will remain. Who created the creator? I mean, this is a basic simple.
Oh, you're cutting out.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're back. No, I think I get where you're coming from.
Okay, but that's
So,
besides. Now to tell you a little bit about myself, because I'm sorry. Can you still hear me?
yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can hear me, yeah. So that's beside. That was just one thing that I still struggle with it to this date. Not from the people who definitely say that they're atheists, but the people who still leave the possibility.
I think your internet is really struggling right now. So you keep cutting in and out,
Like,
unfortunately.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm driving. Maybe I should cut off and then try to get back to you some other time, if you think.
Yeah, if the stream happens to be on when you get home, or if some other time, I would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
All right.
appreciate you
That's
calling in
nice
today
talking to you.
anyway.
All right. Thanksgiving. Yeah. Because I had
Yeah,
so
no
I'm
worries.
gonna leave now. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, safe drive. I didn't kick him off. His internet cut out. I think this is a good example. Asad Kamal says, "I'm an atheist with regards to Santa Claus. I'm an agnostic with regards to a conscious being that put those presents under the tree." Just an analogy. Yeah, I'm pretty much I'm with you there. I think it's arrogant to say I know, and I'm not saying that about the caller. I mean, personally, I would feel arrogant to say that I know without a shred of doubt that there is no God or no creator or no initiator, anything like that. And it would be selective of me to say that when it suits me, when it aligns with my beliefs that there is no creator and I have no doubt, and I'm okay with not having enough evidence or things to infer that prove it without a shadow of a doubt. But then someone else would say, I believe in so and so, and I would tell them, I wouldn't believe in that because there is not enough evidence to be a believer without a shadow of a doubt. So I can't be a hypocrite. I have to be consistent. So in that sense, I am consistent that I can't eliminate the possibility of a creator. However, I can tell you very confidently that a creator with a personality that is being described by a human, I can automatically attribute it to being a human man-made idea of a creator. There has never been, and probably never will be, any evidence of an actual creator coming down and telling us this is what I did, because even that would be very hard to verify. So for the time being, I could say I'm agnostic, but it doesn't mean that I'm, that it's a 50-50 chance that there's a guy up there. It just means that I don't claim to know that the source, or that this is not a source. I don't know if that explains it well enough. Hassan Adwan says, people wrongly think agnosticism means they are not sure. Agnosticism means God cannot be definitely proven or disproven. And Hassan Adwan is agnostic. All right, let's get to the final caller, Ismaila. Ismaila, I hope you're ready. I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How's it going?
I have been listening to your show, and there are some things you said which I would like to have clarification upon.
Sure.
Number one, you said that there are more domestic violence in Islamic countries than there are in secular countries. I don't know whether you are saying this from an anecdotal point of view or there's any data to back up this claim.
No, I said,
And then,
well, 1 second. First of all, there's a bit of an echo. Can you put earphones on by any chance?
okay, let me.
Well, you are the last caller, so I might entertain this for a little bit, but the call is
Let me
supposed
see
to
if
be
I
just
can-
for ex-Muslims today.
Echo cancellation. Is this still echoing?
Let me say something. Nope, no echo now. So, yeah, just to be clear, the call is just supposed to be for ex-Muslims today, but I might entertain this for a little bit because it's the last caller. And as I said while making that claim, I said I have no statistics to back this up, but I know that for certain. And the reason why I don't have statistics to back it up is because in Muslim countries it is not only underreported because people are too scared to go and report it. By Islamic law, it is the man that deals with the problems of the household. So of course it's underreported, and people often, not just even people when they try to report it, it's not recorded down, nothing is done about it. So unfortunately, I can't bring you statistics. There are statistics that I can pull, but they're not even accurate, unfortunately. What makes you think that is not
Okay.
true?
I kind of understand this point you bring is a very good point. But at the same time, I would like to also say that even in the Western country, there are domestic violence that's perpetrated by family members that are still not reported because just to preserve the name or to kind of
Sure.
not want the authority to get involved. But I know
That
it's
might
not
be,
as much as it is in the
yeah,
Islamic countries.
it happens, but it's not, there is no religious
Yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah.
moral
It's not at the same level. Yeah. But
Yeah.
do you think that there's some wisdom when it comes to, for example, not wanting like dealing like, because I know in some societies to, for example, to report some things will do more harm than to like settle it within. Don't you think there's some wisdom in some of the cases that are not reported?
No, I don't, because what do you think the wisdom would be in not reporting it
Okay.
and dealing
For
with it?
example, what do you think of a girl that is molested sexually, and then the family, just kept it muted, but it was dealt with within, than to announce it publicly, so that at the end of the day, the girl will have to, carry the stigma in public. I don't know whether you have. I don't know what you have to say on this.
I know where you're coming from, and I'll answer you this way. In an ideal society, obviously, in an ideal society, the sexual assault wouldn't happen at all. But let's say, let's take it down a notch and sexual assault does happen, then the woman would report it and the person would be dealt with, under law, and there would be no stigma. People wouldn't look at her as damaged goods or anything. Like, I can tell you right now, I have had a partner who was sexually assaulted. I've had multiple partners who were sexually assaulted because unfortunately it's very common in certain demographics and it's very common against women. I didn't feel like, oh no, that's damaged goods. I wish she never told me, or I wish nobody knew. I'm not saying that we should go out and announce every time someone gets sexually assaulted and like make sure that everybody knows their name. But rather than hoping that the silence is going to benefit them somehow, we can focus on how the silence doesn't benefit them. Because the very typical case is, not only is it kept quiet, for her name or whatever, nothing is done because even that might expose her name and might make the family look bad and all that kind of stuff. So no, I don't think there's any wisdom in doing it privately. And think about it this way. When people come up with laws, generally the way that it happens is a bunch of smart people get together in a room and they write laws, and then maybe people get to vote on these laws or changing them. and maybe it's a process of democracy, but generally we're trying to take the best out of a big group of people. That's hopefully how laws are created and enacted. But if we leave it to the local level, to the point of every guy who has a penis and made a family, have you seen how stupid the average male is? So how do we trust them to dealing with these things in private?
What I believe is that if the crime is already in the public, I think that should be dealt with. But if it is something that is like not known to everybody, I think it depends on whether to make it public, depending on the pros and cons. Because for me as a woman, I wouldn't like, if at all I were a woman, I wouldn't like something of such to be known to the public. I
I
wouldn't
mean,
like it.
I would think if you're a woman, you wouldn't want to be raped to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And if that happens in the public or is known, then I would like it to be taken publicly and the person dealt with. But if it is in secret, I would not necessarily, if I weigh the cons and pros, I would not necessarily have to report it to the authority.
Well, have you asked women if they think so? That all presupposes that the only options are, it's going to be dealt with privately and the person's going to be punished, or it's going to be dealt with publicly and the person's going to be punished. In reality, what happens is private means no one hears about it, nothing happens, and all that kind of stuff. But have you asked women, like, this is not even the right question to ask, but for the hypothetically, if we ask women, would you rather report it and some people might know publicly what happened and the person would absolutely be punished and there will be justice and they would be either rehabilitated or put away from causing harm to other people? Or would you rather keep it quiet and hope that, whatever man around you is going to deal with it? I'm pretty sure most of them would rather deal with the stigma and then work on making the stigma non-existent than trust some guy to deal with it.
I think we will have to maybe run an experiment to know how many would wants to make it known. I'm not against people being punished for crime committed against women, but I'm only talking about the pros and cons here, because you might be speaking from your own background, but you don't know what background from people are coming from. So I think it depends on the background and the place your settings. I think so. I don't think you should judge your own settings. I don't think you use your own settings to judge other people's settings. I think.
I mean, okay, so you're focused on the backlash of just the part of someone knowing publicly that a woman was sexually assaulted. Do you pay as much attention to, do you put as much effort or thought into how do we get justice for the woman in general, rather than just the public part of
Yes,
it?
exactly. That is why I said that if it happens publicly, then it should be dealt with publicly. But if it happens in private, it is not necessarily. But you have to weigh the cons and pros. That's why I'm saying this comes down to the settings of the community or the background.
Well, what does it mean, like, in this scenario, what does it mean by reporting it publicly? Like, say a woman was assaulted not on the street, it happened in a private setting. What do you think happens if she goes to the police about it?
If it happens in private,
yeah, it happens in private, and she went to the
if it
police.
happens in private, then she has to provide evidence, because if we should take,
that's not what we're talking about. Say there's DNA evidence. Say there's like evidence. What's the difference
exactly,
between?
that's what I'm saying. If there are evidences, then if she wants to take it publicly and she knows that she's ready to deal with the stigma, then fine.
Publicly?
But if she knows that she's not,
no, what does that mean, taking it publicly? Like her going to the police? Is that
exactly,
her
going to the police to report
newspaper?
it, or going to just like going to the police? That's that means it will get publicly.
Yeah, what does that mean? It will get publicly. Do you think if a woman goes to
Because
the police,
if she goes to the police, then
right,
the police have to contact people from there. The news will spread, and only God knows how many people are going, and how many.
God doesn't know anything. So here in this situation, right?
You said God doesn't know anything. Wait,
Yeah,
you say God
because
doesn't know anything?
yeah, because it's a funny situation that you say only God would know. If only God would know, then what is he doing with all this knowledge, not actually stopping the rape? But
Or
that's
that
a whole
means you
other
don't
topic.
understand language use. When I say only God knows how many people are going to get out of it, does that, am I questioning the no? This is just language use.
Sure. Okay.
Do you know the difference between language use and literal sticking to the
No, I
literal meaning
understand,
of?
and I was making a canned remark
No,
about
no, no,
how
no, no.
God doesn't know,
You
but
don't seem to understand my language use, and I find that offensive to say that that God doesn't know.
frankly, I don't really care if you find that offensive. But my intention wasn't to offend you. I think a lot of people would find it offensive your view on sexual assault and how it would be dealt
I
with.
know. I
But
know. I
I'm not
think
trying to take offense here. Let me ask you the question that you really haven't answered yet. So if a woman went to the police, right? You said that they
yeah.
will call people to investigate or whatever it may be, and then news spreads, right?
Yes.
That's because you're conditioned in a Muslim community. News will spread because people like that's a big deal and we have to say it, and there's shame attached to it and it's taboo. So news will spread and all those people will cause the person harm who was assaulted. But in a healthy community, sure, the police might call some people. Sure, some people might say, "Oh, did you hear that this woman was assaulted?" And that's the end of it. Do you think that
No,
that
even in secular society settings, we have had cases like this where the woman suffers at the end of the day. Yeah, there are cases like that. So you saying that oh
yeah,
maybe
why do
I'm
they
just the
suffer?
one
Because
wait
Muslims
wait
shame them for
you
it.
saying that maybe I'm just the one condition on my side. No, this is something that happens even in secular society where a woman after being involved in sexual something, she suffers at the end of the day. Like they say, it's a man's world. The man can go and marry whoever, but as for her, she has to go through some pain.
You're focused
Okay, okay.
so much
Maybe
on
I should
keeping
ask
things private.
the next question because maybe we will not exhaust this. Maybe I should ask my last question and then we'll call it a day.
Well, I just want to highlight this part that you're very concerned about what people say, but rather than being concerned about how to coach people on what to say and what not to say,
No,
on where to place their
I'm
concern.
not disputing the fact that men or even it's not even only men that are involved in this. Some women rape. Do you know that?
Sure, but that's
So,
beyond the
so
point here.
my point here is that the society should be educated to not be, violent or sexually abuse anybody. But if it should happen, then it's up to the person to take the case to to the police if they know they can, handle the backlash. But if you know that you cannot
No,
handle it, then
here's
it's
where you need
better.
to amend that. No, here's where you need to amend that. It's you're accepting, okay, sexual assault might happen. It's up to the person whether they can handle the backlash of public, I don't know, outcry that the person was raped against them. Rather than that, why don't you say we should educate the public not only to not sexually assault, but so that there's no backlash if someone goes to the police?
No, like again, no matter how much you are going to educate people, you always find the bad ones. No matter how, this is human
I
nature.
can
Yeah,
guarantee you a sexually
No
assaulted woman
society is
in the
hundred
West
percent perfect.
who
You always find the
reported it
bad
is
ones.
doing better than one who reported it in the Middle East or in a Muslim country. Like, yeah,
You
sure,
said
you could
what?
say, I guarantee you that this so-called backlash that you speak of, right, the societal shaming, is way worse in Muslim communities.
Yeah, it should be. It should be worse. But the reason why it should be worse is because, like I said, that is why it's better if it's not already public to not make it public. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen as well in the Western society as well. You have women suffering from the sexual assault because of the backlash.
No, okay, so I'm with you that society does shame victims, but it's way worse in Muslim countries. And you're saying because of these
Yeah,
situations, Muslim women should be
because
less likely to
yes,
talk about it publicly.
yeah, because it is worse in Muslim community. That will mean that people will do more to prevent that from happening, and that is good because it will serve as a catalyst to want
Sorry,
to
what people
prevent that
do more to
happening
prevent what?
because of
You
the
think if you,
higher price there. So it wants the society to prevent it from happening. This is one
no,
of
okay,
the
wait,
advantage of
no,
not even wanting it
I
to happen
disagree
in the
with that.
first place.
Wait,
Huh?
I have to mute you for a second because of the echo, and so I can get to speak. In what you're saying is incorrect. You're saying that because the societal backlash against the victim is so much worse in Muslim communities, people will put in more effort to prevent sexual assault? Absolutely not. Sexual assault happens more often in Muslim communities, and the backlash is worse against the victim. Both of those happen.
You don't get what I mean. I mean, because of the higher price in the Islamic society, there will be that will serve as a catalyst to want to prevent that, to put things in place to prevent that from happening.
Is it
From
working?
the family, from the father, from the teachers, from every
Wait,
members
how,
of the
how can the
of
family
the family.
how can the family prevent a sexual assault from happening?
How can a family prevent that?
Yeah, how can the family of the victim
Yeah, because
prevent it?
Islam has taught, for example, if you have grown-up children, you separate their beds. You don't you separate, if they are females and male, you separate their beds, and there are things you look out for as a father to know. So there are many things you can you can
What?
look out for and then
Wait,
prevent
how can a father stop
the
a woman from
possibility
being
of that
sexually assaulted on the street?
on the street.
Yeah, like you're
Hello.
saying that the family. Wait, I have to mute you because the echo. You're saying that because the backlash against victims is so bad, societal shaming is so bad in Muslim countries and communities, then Muslims put in more of an effort to avoid sexual assault, and the method is by controlling the women harder. It's not working. Where do you see that working?
I think you are strongmanning me. You are putting words in my mouth. I never said by going hard on women alone. No, I think everybody is involved here, both the men and the women.
Well, I think we've exchanged as much as we can about this.
Okay.
What is
Let me
something
ask
that
the
you want
last
to?
question, because maybe
Mhm.
then we'll call it a day.
Sure. What's the other question?
Okay. You said you don't believe in hell. Um, although I cannot prove to you I cannot prove it to you like I cannot prove it to you using a verifiable evidence. But the reason why I believe that there is hell is well connected with my belief that there is God, and if there is God, then it means that there should be judgment for all the things we do here in the world. And if there should be judgment, then there should be reward and punishment at the same time. This is why I believe personally that there's hell or punishment, if not hell, at least punishment.
Yeah. What is your question here?
So your question is, if you don't believe in hell, then how do you expect somebody who has perpetrated evil on this earth, yet they are on courts and they die? So where is the reward? Where are they going to get rewarded or punished for the crime they have already done, yet on court in this life?
Okay, I have to mute you because of the echo. There's a presupposition here that you may have not spelled out clearly, but I'll do that for you. You're saying life must be fair. There must be judgment after death and punishment and reward. Otherwise, life it's not fair. But life is fair, therefore there must be heaven and hell. I'm telling you, life is not fair. That as far as we know, there's no judgment in the afterlife. There's no afterlife, and someone who does a crime and gets away with it, nothing's going to happen to them unless something happens to them in this life, unless we do something about it.
I don't know what you mean by life is not fair. What I mean is that life is fair in the sense that we all have opportunities to do good or evil. We all have that opportunity, and that is fairness, all of us.
Wait, no,
But it
that's
depends
not what
on
I'm
what you
talking
do,
about.
and you'll be judged by what you do. But you say
That's not what I'm talking about. One second here. I'm saying if someone does a crime or harms someone else and gets away with it, yeah, life is unfair. There's no God, there's nothing in the afterlife as far as we know. There's no afterlife or judgment that will make it up to the person who was harmed or punish the one who did the harm. As far as we know, there's none of that system. So it makes it more important that we deal with that in this life.
hello.
Yep.
That's it.
Yes.
And that sounds really weird to me. Honestly, it sounds weird to me. It sounds weird.
Wait,
It sounds weird to me. Okay, no
does it
problem.
sound more weird than a God who knows that someone is going to commit sexual assault and that the society is going to shame them and lets it happen anyway, and then lets that person go to heaven after some torture because they're Muslim? Does that not sound weirder than life is unfair?
we are given will to do good or bad, and at the end of the day, we'll be judged. I think that sounds more rational. That sounds more rational to think that okay, if somebody did evil, no matter how much evil, when they die on court, that's it. I think that sounds more more somehow to me.
No, it sounds more. Wait, I have to mute you again. It sounds nicer that there is someone to make sure that everything is fair. It sounds easier. It sounds like you don't have to worry that sexual assault happens more often in your communities because God's going to deal with it. There is fairness, but that's not reality. The reality is there is no fairness. We have to make sure that things are fair. It sounds lazy, is what it sounds like.
No, what I mean is that no matter how you see it in this life, we are given will. And no matter how careful you are, things like this will still happen. So we do as much as we can as human beings. Then God, who is the grand judge, will judge overall on it. I think that sounds more rational to me than to say it is that doesn't that something nothing happens when somebody did evil and die, and that's it.
What's more rational about yours?
Because knowing that there is judgment day, at least that will curb human beings from doing evil. But even if that doesn't curb a human being, God is going to judge him who did evil on court in his life. Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't explain how that is more rational. You just told me more
Because,
story.
because it's more rational because the evil ones are not getting away with their evil at the end of the day if they are unpunished in this life. But for you to say that okay, if somebody did evil, no matter how, if they're uncaught in this life, and that's it. So my own position is more rational than yours because my own position,
I don't
you
think you
know,
understand what
at the end of
rational
the day,
means.
judges everyone. But your own is saying okay, there are possibility of somebody getting away with their evil.
Yeah, mine is more realistic. Yours is more wishful thinking.
How?
Like mine is more careful, and here's wait, I have to mute you again. Here's why mine is more prudent and more careful.
How is your
I
more
work on the
careful?
assumption. I work on the
How is
assumption
your
that yeah, I'm about to
how
tell
is your
you.
more careful when you possibility for someone to do evil, no matter how worse, and they can get away with it?
I'm about to tell you. Mine is more careful because I acknowledge that people are able to do evil and get away with it. So I try to not let them get away with it. Yours is more like, oh, قدر الله ما شاء فعل. Some people will do evil and Allah is going to deal with them in the afterlife. But if there is no afterlife, which is most likely the case, then that was all in vain and no one's going to catch the predator. Your belief is more forgiving and it's more assuming that God's going to deal with things at the end. Mine is let's deal with it right now. Either way, there's going to be evil that's happening. Yours is just kicking the bucket till the end.
Hello? I'm saying as a human being, we can also do the same. We have laws in the ground. We can do as much as we can as a human being, but not everything we can do as human being. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
they are human beings who have done evil, yet they will be on courts and they will die. So my own position takes care of what we can do as human being and what we cannot do as human being. But your own position is only focusing on what we can do as a human being, not dealing with what we cannot do as a human being. Because I know definitely there are people who have done evil and they have died on court.
Yeah, I still don't understand how you think my position is not rational.
Because your position is only focusing on what you can do as a human being. But my
Mhm.
position is focusing also on what we can do as a human being and what we cannot do as a human being.
Okay, I have to mute you for a second. We can focus on what we cannot do as human beings all we want, right? What's important is what we can do. Your position, as we've seen you demonstrate in this call, your position we've seen you demonstrate in this call would lead you to a position where you enable and allow the shaming of sexual assault victims. Hopefully God is going to deal with all that later. My position hopefully would get them more justice in this life. Yours doesn't.
My position is actually taking care of both cases. Your own position is only taking care of one case, the human part. My position is taking care of both the human part and what we human cannot do, but only God can come in. Because I can tell you, there are human
Have you
beings who have
accounted
done
for every
evil
God or just God?
whom nobody
Just
even know
yours?
about.
Have you accounted for every god or just yours?
Every God? How many gods? I believe there's one God that owns everything. So
I know it's funny to you, but have you accounted for every possibility of other gods that could have been true or could be true, right? And you need to appease them. Like you're thinking, I'm accounting for this life and the afterlife, but what about the 1,000 other afterlives of other religions?
if there are more than one God, I believe this world would have ended. Yeah.
What if the true God is not yours?
You are assuming that there are more than one God. I'm telling you, there cannot be more than one God, and I can prove it rationally.
No. Okay, forget monotheism for a second. Let's say monotheism is the way, but it's not your God, it's a different God. Okay, not more than one God, a different God than yours. Have you accounted for that possibility? What if you're going to hell in that religion?
But you are still assuming that there are two gods, and you are saying monotheism is believe in one God, the overall God.
I don't think you understand me. I'm not saying there are two gods. I'm saying, what if monotheism is true, but it's not your God, it's a different God? What you have, it doesn't mean that God exists. You believe that God exists. Say, instead of Allah, it's Fallah, and that's the actual God, and it's a very different religion. Have you accounted for that religion and every other monotheistic religion?
Okay, that you are assuming, you are still assuming that my God is different from his. Yeah.
I didn't kick him off. I think that was an internet issue. Like I said, this is not on topic, but I was going to entertain it for a bit since it's the last caller. I thought it was going to be, yeah. It really bothered me what he was saying about, let's start, okay, he's back. Okay, I have some comments, but I'll wait till after.
Hello?
Yep, hi.
You are still assuming that my God is different from his. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm saying, say another religion is true, not actually yours. Have you accounted for that possibility?
And that would mean that you are assuming that my God is different from his, and you are still assuming that there are more than one God.
What? No, I'm assuming, I'm not even assuming, I'm saying, say that there's a possibility you're wrong about God, and there is one God, but it's not Allah. It's not the description that is Allah. And if you follow Islam, you'll go to hell, in that other religion.
If there is still one God, but my own belief about that God is wrong, then I'll be punished by that God. Yeah.
But you haven't accounted for that, because you're saying if you're accounting for both scenarios, this life and the afterlife, you haven't accounted for every interpretation of the afterlife ever.
No, my interpretation is that as a human beings, we have laws here. If that law catches someone, fine. If that law doesn't catch that person, then God, who is all-knowing, knows about that evil, and He will punish that person, no matter what religion that God belongs to. That's not the point now. It's just that there's that one God who is all-knowing and who is judge.
I don't think you're getting my point, but let me approach it differently here. You think your belief is rational, right? I like I asked you to explain, there's nothing irrational about mine, or really like irrational about you saying that there is eternal justice, but there's nothing that rationally makes it clear and inevitable that there is some kind of universal justice. But in your God's view of justice, a Muslim can assault someone and then repent or not repent, whatever, but they die a Muslim. They might go to hell for a little bit, but as far as I remember, Muslims don't go to hell forever. Eventually, he might go to heaven. But someone else worships the wrong God or doesn't worship God, but never assaulted anyone, they're going to hell. And you think that is rational?
I think any atheist who did not assault anybody did not do so because his view tells him so. I don't know whether if an atheist is doing something good, what is the source of his doing good? That same source can tell him to do evil.
Why does that matter? You haven't answered the question. Do you think that is rational, that God would punish the atheist or religious in another religion, punish them harsher, maybe eternally, infinitely harsher, than an assaulter who's a Muslim?
Yeah, I think so. And I want to prove it now. Yeah.
Wait, prove what? Okay, prove that it's rational?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. You see, for an atheist who is doing good, yeah, what is his source of doing good? That same source can tell him to do evil, and he can still do it. But for a
Wait,
Muslim who is
talking
doing
about like a
evil,
slippery
we
slope that source could make him do something else. I'm giving you a clear and cut scenario. Someone who did a lot of good things in their life and never sexually assaulted anyone is probably going to go to hell in your belief system, but a Muslim
yes,
who's done heinous crimes is going to be punished less.
yes, and I'm about to prove it, but you're not allowing me to prove it.
No, because your way of proving it is saying, who knows what else the atheist could do because they have no moral basis. I'm giving you
Exactly,
the
that is
life.
it.
But who's talking about who knows? I'm telling you, someone died and they haven't committed something heinous. They've died already. They haven't done something awful because they're atheists. They've died an atheist and they've never assaulted anyone. But a Muslim has died and he has assaulted people. He's going to be punished less. You can't say, who knows what else the atheist could have done. They were already dead.
Yes, because the source of his what is informing his action, the atheist now, is something that he himself doesn't know. He doesn't have any
Wait,
basis for
I'm not
why
getting into
he
that part of it because it's irrelevant.
no,
Why
it
does it
is
matter
because
what the source? Mhm.
no, if you allow me to learn, you are going to see rationality behind it.
Sure, go
You
ahead.
see, for a Muslim who is doing evil, we already know that he is going against his own religion. Therefore, if he's punished for for what he has done evil, that's rational. But for an atheist, he has no basis, so he is only doing it. If he wishes, he can do the opposite. He has no basis.
I don't think you've answered the question. I told you the atheist died. They didn't
Yes,
sexually assault anyone. They didn't kill anyone,
exactly. Yes.
but they will be punished
And the reason why they
harsher
didn't do that, and the reason why they didn't do that is not because they have
because
any
they're not
basis for.
assholes. Say there's no reason because they're not assholes. Not because God told them to. The reason is I'm not an asshole and assholes kill people
What
and I'm
tells
not
them
going to
not
do
to do
that.
so? What tells them not to do so?
I just gave you an answer. Like, why does it
That what?
matter what their motivation is? They didn't harm anyone, right? Because
What
they're not
informs them?
assholes.
What informs them not to do so?
Why are you incapable of answering the question?
No, because you are assuming that they have a basis for not doing so.
I think you're trained on this line of objective morality apologetics, and going down that line is not really going to get us anywhere
No,
because you're
no.
still
The my
engaging
point
the
is, you see,
question.
my point is for a Muslim who is doing evil, we know that he's going against his own basis. We know that for sure. And if he gets punished for doing that, that's fine. But for an atheist, if he's doing good, he has no basis for doing good, and he can even do evil, still believing that yeah he's doing the right thing.
I gave you a
An
clear
atheist
and
can
cut
do evil,
example of
still
someone
believing
who
that he's doing the
died.
right thing.
No,
Huh?
you still don't understand. I gave you a clear and cut example of someone who died without doing evil. And you're saying because they have no basis for morality, they could have done evil for the same reasons, therefore they deserve punishment. So God punishes
Exactly.
based on potential of them doing evil more than a Muslim who is doing evil. And that's rational to you?
No, my point is that they could have done evil. So what they even do of good is not based on it doesn't have any basis.
Well, I like that wording. So God is punishing them eternally because they could have done evil more than someone who has done evil because he prays to Allah.
Yes, because the good they have done is not based on any sort of any sort of belief, because that same belief can also tell them to do evil while still believing that they are doing good.
If someone comes and slaps me in the face and tells me, I'm sorry, I'm a Muslim, I had good intentions, it's okay, versus someone who didn't slap me in the face and I would think, well, I don't know what else they could have done to me. Like, why? What? I'm so confused by your line of thinking here. God is punishing by the
Where is
potential.
it? Where is it in the Islamic belief that you can slap somebody knowingly
You,
and pretend
you're
hypocritically
really
that
not following
you are slapping them for
my
good?
question here at all. I never said that Islam allows you to slap someone. I'm telling you, I gave you an example. Someone who did something to harm someone, right? It's
Uh-huh.
un-Islamically, right? It goes against Islam. Sure, they'll be slapped on the wrist for it. Sure, they might go to hell for a little bit, but then they go to heaven. But someone who didn't do harm, but doesn't pray to Allah deserves eternal torture because potentially they could have done something harmful. They've already lived. There's no potential here.
No, you don't understand. You see, their source of their action can tell them to do evil, yet they don't know
What do you
that they
mean
are doing
can?
evil.
He already died. Like the person already died.
Yes,
How could the source have told them?
so because the basis is wrong from the beginning, that's why they are getting punished. The basis of the action is already faulty, so they are getting punished for that. The
We
basis
didn't
of their
even get
action
to the
is
base,
faulty
but you're saying that someone who commits a bad crime, as long as they pray to Allah at the end of the day, that's better than someone who did no crime, but their basis is not Allah.
because the one who did evil on a basis that condemns that evil, we know that their basis is right, but they did the wrong thing, but they are getting punished for the wrong they do. But as for the atheist, he doesn't have his foundation is already faulty, so he's just doing things blindly. If he does evil, he wouldn't even know whether he's doing evil because he has no basis.
We didn't even get to like sources of morality and all that, and I purposely don't want to go there because it doesn't seem like it's a conversation that'll go anywhere here. But let me tell you this. I'll take any day of the week. I'll take someone who has a basis that's not Allah for doing good things and doesn't do bad things over someone who says Allah should be watching me and I'm a rapist, but Allah's going to forgive me. I'll take the first person any day of the week.
And I believe I wouldn't take an atheist who doesn't have a basis, who would do something wrong yet believing that he's doing something right. I wouldn't take him.
You think a rapist with a godly basis is better than someone with a human basis that's not a godly reason? Who
tells the atheist? Wait, how does the atheist know that rape is not good?
Oh God, this is the whole morality argument. So
you see,
what is the source of your
see,
morality?
His foundation is wrong from the beginning. He has no basis
what is
for
your foundation
he has
for
no
morality?
Huh?
What is your foundation for morality?
It's God who knows what is right and what is wrong. But as for an atheist, he has no basis for that.
Okay, so your foundation of morality, right, is one of many stories that many people believe in different stories. My foundation of morality is based on harm and benefit. If I know that
harm and benefit.
Yes.
Wait,
yes.
wait. Harm and benefit. Now,
Gladly.
Now. Can you tell me? Hello, are you listening?
Yep.
Okay. Do you agree for people to walk naked, for example, in a secular state? Is that harming others?
Wait a second. What do I agree that what?
Do you agree that people can walk naked in the street in a secular state? Is that harming others as well?
I love how we went to that example from a rapist that goes to heaven.
Yeah, because I want to know. I want to know how your your position is going to be feasible here. Do you agree that they are not doing harm to others?
I really want to give you an answer. I'm tempted to go down that line, but I know it's going to get us nowhere. I have my reasons for not wanting public nudity, including hygiene. Is first and foremost. I don't want your bare ass and balls on the bus seat. That's one of them. Including people are uncomfortable with nudity. I am uncomfortable with nudity. General consensus is I don't like nudity. Some people live in areas where they're comfortable.
How does a man sitting with his balls? Wait. How does a man sitting with his balls on the seat harms you?
It's unhygienic. I don't want their butthole and
can you explain the because you haven't you just
should I explain hygiene to you too? Like should I tell you my basis for hygiene is not God?
The man takes his shower every day, so why would you say it is unhygienic?
I'm not there to verify how sweaty his balls are. I'm sorry. I can't believe we're talking about this. I'm giving you a basis, a humanly basis for why I don't want skin contact on something that's, public.
Oh, but you can have sex as well. But you can have sex with skin contact. Oh, this is interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm flabbergasted. I don't mind the sweaty genitals of the person that I'm having sex with, but not a random man on the bus.
But that other man can be super cleaner. Do you know what? Do you know?
I don't even. Going back to what we were talking about, I can explain to you in many ways why sexual assault is wrong. You can only tell me what God says, and your God allows for that in certain situations. So you have no basis to tell me what is moral and not moral and act as if the potential for causing harm is worse than actual harm caused.
You see, nobody can define what is harm and what is on harm except God.
We can
Because
do a better job
if
of
you
it
want to
than
tell me
Allah.
that you want to run a society that is based on harm and what do you call it, you are going to fall into problems. Just like here, for example.
But societies that are running on these principles, where do you think secular law comes from?
I think it comes from human rations that can be faulty as well.
But why are secular countries doing better and more fair to everyone than
I
religious
think
law?
the secular country, I don't think they are doing better, because if you go to their history, they have done evil to
Absolutely.
the impoverished ones, and they are still doing so. And not only that, their systems is also faulty. And I can point to many examples: families getting destroyed, marriage getting
I love
destroyed.
how this is a very common example in like Muslim apologist circles is the familial cohesiveness in secular countries is bad, but in Muslim countries you've got families that cover up for rapists. So how are you counting what counts as a good family?
The cover up also happen in secular country, like I already told you. If it gets covers up in Islamic State, it has to be, because the prawns overweigh the this thing, the act of not making it public overweigh making it public.
My point is I don't disagree with you that secular countries, a lot of the secular countries that they're now secular, started off with colonization and a lot of exploitation of other people, and that's not to mention that Muslims have colonized. Like Muslim colonization and slavery is very very well demonstrated throughout history. But when it comes to
I
rights
believe
now,
that Muslim colonization is one that is inclusive. It doesn't set its tentacles like a parasitic ones like we have of the Europeans, what they have done to
what
the
Muslim
Africans.
colonization is so bad that there is no identity to the countries that they colonize as much as their Muslimness. And you're telling me it's not as bad as other colonization?
Do you think that there is any Islamic country that is serving as a colonial, like what the colonials did to Africans? I don't think so.
Sorry,
I
is there
think
any
when
Islamic country that
Muslims
what?
conquer a place, the place becomes like inclusive. It becomes Islamic State.
It becomes Islamic State and becomes inclusive are very mutually exclusive here. If it becomes an Islamic State, they lose a lot of their culture and religions. And you're saying that's inclusive?
A lot of their bad culture, yeah. But how does that mean that they are being exploited? Economically, economically, how does that mean they are being exploited economically?
I just don't have words because I feel like you'll keep asking me very I don't want to insult, very bad questions that just take us nowhere here. Anyway, I don't even know how we got here. What I'm telling you is secular law that you're saying could lead to a lot of harm. I'm saying secular law as if that's one entity. It's not. Law that is derived from sources that are not God, that are not religious, is doing so much better for the people than laws that are derived from religious sources. So you can't say that it's rational that God would punish harshly people for not believing, but
No,
be okay with
but we
people
have
because
African
they
countries that
believe.
are secular for more than 20 years now, but they are still impoverished. So where do you think the problem is coming from?
Wait, that's a whole other topic. That a country that has been
No,
impoverished for a long
no.
time.
It's important because if we are to judge by what you are saying now, that secular laws brings more prosperity, but we have African countries that are secular for more than 10, 20 years now, but they are still impoverished. I don't know. So what could be the cause?
Well, you have a lot of Muslim countries that are impoverished. Just taking that alone is I can give you the cause if you give me a specific country.
No.
But
Angola, for example, Angola, for example, has very little percentage of Muslims, but yet they are secular, yet they are still impoverished.
Who said that secularism or that having laws that are not religious are gonna pull you out of poverty and fix your country in 20 years?
But
That's not what I'm
that
saying.
is what you are implying by saying that you have secular
Well, look
laws
who's straw manning
that are
now.
doing better,
Look who's
that are
straw
doing
manning
better
now.
than the religious law.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying countries on as a general trend, countries that have laws that are not religious are doing better than countries that have religious law.
But
And a lot
Angola is adopting the European secular laws as well. The democracy, everything is
and
secular.
that's not going to
But
fix.
yeah, they are
That's not
still
going to
doing
fix
bad.
the country overnight. What I don't. I never said anything like that. Like if you want to see trends, Muslim countries keep doing the problems of sexual assault, domestic violence, corruption. None of these problems are solved by Islamic ideals in Muslim
Yes,
countries.
of course, because this world is not a world that is meant to be 100% perfect. But I can tell you
It's
that
not even
we
close
have
to
a
perfect.
system. We have some places, for example, that have done good and are still doing good, and they are still practicing Islamic. Look for example the golden age of Islam, for example. Look at how we see how beautiful the society was then. But I'm not
The
saying
what
that
this
things
time?
have to be perfect, because this life, human beings are not perfect, and therefore you don't expect a perfect system entirely.
I think we've kind of lost track of the point of the conversation. The focal point here is that you believe that my belief system, which is we don't know that there's anything in the afterlife, life is unfair, we need to make it as fair as possible. You think that is less rational than your belief system, even though you believe that someone can go to hell and be tortured just for the potential that they could have done bad things, but a Muslim who committed murder and other bad things might go to heaven because they believe in Islam, and you think that is rational. That is where we part ways. Like, there's no way to explain to you how, like, more than I already tried to, how irrational that is.
Like I said, I understand where you're coming from, but like I said, in my own what I've said is that my own position takes care of this life. As human being, we will do our best. As for the things we
You're
cannot
not doing
do,
your best.
God is going to take care of that.
No, but you're
Then
not doing your
as
best. We disagree with that. I disagree with you on that. You're
oh,
not doing
okay.
your best.
Do you think that that we are not doing our best when we have laws that punish crimes?
No. Here's why you're not doing your best. If we scroll back to the beginning of this conversation, the opinion that you and the people around you have about how to deal with sexual assault as a result of religion is making it worse for people to deal with that problem in this life. So you're
No.
putting weight
No,
on
no,
the
no.
afterlife
You don't
than this
understand
life.
what I said earlier. Maybe I should repeat myself again.
You could try, but
I
I don't
said
think.
if there is an assault, if the woman feels that she can handle the backlash, fine. But if she feels she cannot handle the backlash, why must you force her to make it public if she
No
knows she
one's
cannot handle
forcing
the
anyone.
backlash? So I'm saying that if she knows she cannot handle the backlash, it is better to keep it mute.
I think even the framing of that question is a demonstration of my point. Like, the way that you think of that whole predicament, the way that you think of the question and what you think the dilemma is, the two options are here, that alone demonstrates how you're doing a terrible job because of religion in finding fairness in this world, and you put more weight on fairness in the afterlife. So
No,
we're not doing the
because
same part. Like, you
no,
think you and I are doing the same for this world,
the
and then we
solution
do extra? No.
you are providing the solution you are giving, we have seen that it has its own flaws. Even in the secular state, you have women who are suffering from the backlash as well.
No, you're still missing the point. You're saying, oh, there's going to be backlash anyway. So no, it's not the same thing. Backlash in Muslim communities is a ton worse, is way worse. And because you are putting so much importance on the backlash, because that's how Muslims think, or Muslims around you think, because of religion, we're not doing the same efficiency. It's not the same amount of work that we're putting into fairness in this life. The way that you're going about fairness in this life prioritizes the backlash and the shame and all that kind of stuff, and it puts more weight on the afterlife, which does not exist as far as we know.
What I'm saying is that the shame has its own has its own role to play here because, like I said, it serves as a catalyst to avoid that as much as possible. I'm not saying that if it happens, it shouldn't be judged, or the perpetrator shouldn't be punished. That's not my point.
So
But I'm
how
saying
can you
that
reduce the shame? Like, do you agree that the shame is larger in Muslim communities?
yes, and I think that is good as well because it serves as a catalyst to want
We
them
already talked about this point.
to curb that.
You think because the shame is greater against the victim in Muslim communities, that helps
Yeah.
reduce sexual assault in Muslim communities?
That helps them to put things in place to reduce it, yes. But as for a society where it's nothing, it's just normal, then there will not be that zeal to want to curb it, and you have even people
What
doing it more
zeal?
and more.
Do you not
So
see
you
how
have
it's the
people.
opposite? How
No,
can you
no,
not
no.
see that it's the
Wait,
opposite?
wait. In a secular society where it is no shame, so it means there are more possibility that there will not be precautions, and that will happen even more.
Do you see that working? Do you see that approach working? Do you see that there's less sexual assault in Muslim communities because they're
I
afraid of the
believe so.
backlash?
I believe so. Especially in my own community, I believe so. Yeah.
You believe so? Well, obviously you believe so. You're a man and you're religious and you can't get your head out of your
No,
community.
I work by experience. So I'm in my society.
Your
You don't.
experience as a man, what
I
do you
live.
know about it?
You don't live in
Like,
my community. I live there. I know what is happening as much as I know. But you're not part of my community. So how can I speak for my community?
can you tell us what your community is?
I live in my community here in Nigeria, and I'm more familiar with it than you. So how can you speak for my community? I know better than you how my community is, what happens than you. So you cannot speak for my community
I have
than
a
me.
feeling that a religious male with cognitive dissonance knows less about sexual assault in his community than
No,
my guess
because
would be.
no, because we have
Just a
cases
hunch.
here, we have laws, we
Mhm.
have we have union, we have families. So you cannot tell me we don't know what is happening in our community.
I can tell you with absolute certainty, without evidence, just like you have no evidence for your God, I can tell you that with absolute certainty, you underestimate the amount of sexual assault that happens in your community.
You know, I asked you for data the last time. You say you have no data, so you are only assuming you don't have any data. And what if I make the claim that it is worse, that the number of rapes, the number of sexual assault is worse in the secular state, even though some are still not yet reported?
Yeah,
What would you say?
you could say that without data, but the precedent that I have is greater. Like the amount of Muslims that come out and say, and ex-Muslims that come out and say, yes, it happened,
Oh,
and people are covering up.
so now you are listening to the ex-Muslim who will not be fair. That means you are listening to one side of the story, not the other
No, I'm
side. You
listening
see,
to Muslims too. There are
you are
Muslims who
tapping your
report it, but you're
information
not listening.
from the wrong
You're
sources,
quiet.
from a source that's already biased.
Like you have no idea how much slack I'm cutting you. Like you're making big claims based on no evidence, and I'm hearing you out.
No,
And now you're
no. If you be asking if you be asking your information from a biased source, then I believe you are wrong because what do you expect from a biased source to tell you?
your source, the system that you advocate for is to deal with it quietly. What the hell do you know about statistics? If you're telling people to deal with it quietly and that's how it's dealt with
You said you have spoken to many ex-Muslims, so you are only speaking to ex-Muslim who
No,
are already
and
biased
Muslims, I'm
against
telling you,
Islam. Wait,
Muslims are telling me
who
this as
are already
well.
biased against Islam? So what do you expect them to tell you?
And no, Muslims tell me the same thing, but your system says they should be quiet, and you
Oh,
think you have
so
better data?
wait. Earlier on, you said ex-Muslim. Now you are saying Muslim also tell you the same thing.
I've said it from the beginning, but you're not very good at listening. Muslims also call into my shows, and Muslims have also said the same things.
Okay. Of all the Muslims in the world, how many have you interviewed? For example, how many?
I don't know how to give you accurate statistics when your community hides sexual assault. That's what you're advocating for.
No. The seculars going to also hide their own their
You
cases
can't just say there's shit
that are
stats
hidden.
too. We're telling you it's
Huh?
bad to hide this kind of thing out of shame. You're telling us shame
I'm
is
not
good.
telling. Oh, my God. I'm not saying that it should not be punished or made public if the person can deal with the backlash. That's my point. Okay, what is the essence of making it public when the backlash is going to damage you as well? What is the importance?
We've already had this conversation multiple times. And I'm trying to explain to you, you've accepted the backlash not only as inevitable, but as a positive thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
No, it's not a problem. No, that's not a problem. It's a problem if you think it has no use, and therefore because you don't see that as anything, it keeps happening. It will keep happening. It keep happening.
I'm sorry, but you are so deluded, and I never use that word when I'm talking to someone, but you're so deluded to the point that you think shaming the victims has positive effects on the rates of sexual assault.
Now you are strawmanning me. You are strawmanning me. I say shaming
exactly
the action.
What you're saying.
No, shaming the action. Wait,
victims.
No, shame for the action and for the happening, not the victim.
Shaming who? Who's being shamed?
So you shouldn't strawman me, please.
No, who's being shamed here?
I'm not saying if that happens we should shame the victim. No, we should be repugnant of the idea of the happenings, but not the victim itself.
People in the West celebrate it. They're not shaming the sexual assault.
Oh,
in general?
You mean we should be celebrating them? We should be celebrating that happening. We should be happy with it. Yeah, we should be happy with that happening in our society. Is that what you're saying?
That? Okay, let me explain that to you because I'm not strawmanning you, right? I've been very nice to you so far.
What I'm saying is that we shouldn't victimize. We shouldn't victimize victims. We shouldn't shame the victim. We should support them, and if need be, we should punish the perpetrators. Yeah, but I'm telling you, not every case you will make public. Not every case.
What do you mean? If need be, we should punish the perpetrator.
That is, if the victim is willing to take on or to take the backlash, fine. But if the victim,
wait a second. So if the victim is willing to take backlash, we should punish the perpetrator. That's the if need.
We should make it public and punish the perpetrators. But if the victim is not willing to make public and we know the perpetrator, yeah, if the perpetrator is known, if the victim is not wants to take the case forward, then fine.
Wait, what do you mean then fine? So let's see.
Okay, wait. Are you respecting the will of the victim if they say they don't want to take the case further? Are you respecting their will or not? No. Are you respecting their will or not?
What we're talking about here. You're saying because you said if need be the guy would be punished, the assaulter would be punished. What do you mean if need be? So if the victim, how do you deal with it privately? Like, tell me your solution for it privately.
Okay. For example, if there's a sexual assault between if there's a sexual assault between close relatives, for example, yeah,
doesn't matter. And if some guy and some woman, doesn't have to be relatives.
Okay. Oh no. Okay. Because you mean any random man, any random person?
Doesn't matter. Why does
it doesn't matter? Okay. Yeah. Okay. If there is such a case, yeah, and if the family believes that it is more advantageous to them to keep it secret, and they should settle the case within themselves, the family of the victim.
What do you mean settle the case? What do you mean settle the case? That's what we need to focus on. What do you mean settle the case within themselves? Explain that.
Okay, what do you mean by settle the case? That is, the case should be reported to the family of the perpetrator, that they should handle their kids. So that alone is the punishment for the kid.
The punishment is to call the mother of the guy who assaulted the woman? That's the punishment?
Yes, to call him and the father and tell them. Yeah?
The punishment for sexual assault is to tell the family?
Okay, again, you are strawmanning me. If, again, like I said, if they want to take the case to the authority, then the case is already public.
No authorities, and
that person will be punished accordingly. Wait, let me finish. And the person will be punished accordingly. But if they are not willing to make it public, they can settle it within themselves.
No. We're dealing with it privately, okay? We're dealing with it the Ismaila way. How do you settle it privately?
Okay. Like I gave you one way. For example, the case will be reported to the family of the perpetrator. That's one of the way. And then
pause here.
We are going to make agreement. Wait, let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
If there are like repercussions from the assault, they are going to pay damage. Maybe he infected her something, maybe with HIV or something.
What?
So
What?
that
What?
are
What?
way.
Wait!
These
Wait!
are
Wait!
the
Wait!
ways
Wait!
that
Wait!
you.
Wait! 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 If there is damage, if he gave her an STD, what if he didn't give her an STD?
That's I'm explaining, but you're cutting me off.
Because every word you say is more damning. You think that
No, it's
the
not that. No,
damage is.
it's just the reality. You see, you are not respecting the will of people here. You
What
you
will of
seem to
people?
be
I'm
wait wait
talking
wait.
to
You think
one
wait
guy.
wait. You are assuming that your own thought is like the thought of everybody. Like your own thought is the right one.
I'm
No,
letting you
they are
explain your thoughts and
wait.
trying to demonstrate to you what's wrong with them.
No, I'm telling you that you are wrong by thinking that everybody should think like you.
I don't think
You
that's
are
true. But
wrong if you think
but
that
he-
everyone should think like you. You are wrong.
I never said everyone should think like me. But
So
let's go
why
back
are
to
you
your
not?
point. No.
So why
I'm
are you not
very good
willing
at
to
keeping
respect?
people
Wait.
on
So
topic.
why are you not willing to respect the will of others? If that is what they want.
It's so funny how you twist it to
Oh,
me
so
being
now it's
arrogant
funny
and not taking the will of women.
people don't think as you are thinking.
Okay, let's bring it back to the point. You think punishment for sexual assault is calling the family of the guy, and if there is
Like
damage, whatever the hell that means, give her
I
money.
have explained to you that it depends on what the victims want. Yeah. Now, since you are a secularist and you believe that the will of people should be
Holy
respected,
shit,
but I'm surprised that you are not
me
willing.
too.
You are like no. That shouldn't be the way, even if that's what they want. No, that shouldn't be the way. You see, you are the one now going against the will of people. So,
You are
like I
so
said,
bad at
wait,
comprehension
let me finish.
that your
Let me
attempt
finish.
to strawman me
Let
is
me
so
finish. Let me finish.
brilliant.
If
No
the
one's
victim
following.
wants, if the victim wants the case to be taken to the authority, the perpetrator to punish, fine. I have no problem with that. Yeah,
You're
it is their
so
will.
far. You're so far
Let me finish.
in the
Let me finish.
conversation. You're so far behind in the conversation.
Let me
You
finish.
don't even realize
But
that no
if
one's
the,
with you here. No one's talking about, oh, if the victim wishes to keep it private. That's not at all what we're talking about. We're talking about your defective mentality about the topic.
no,
Not about
okay,
a case where the victim doesn't want to talk about it publicly.
now the will of people is not effective because it's not the same as yours. Again, you are being ethnocentric here. You think your own idea is always right. You don't respect the will of people
You are
here.
so full of yourself. You can't even see that it's a waste of time to
Oh,
go and defend myself against what you're saying because you're not sticking to the point. I'm not telling you that every woman should go out and put it in the news and make headlines. I'm not talking that women should be forced to say it even if they don't want to admit to it publicly. That's not at all what I'm saying. That's
so what
such
are
a
you saying then?
You're not listening to me. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to understand your idea of dealing with it privately. And so far, you've tried to explain, oh, they would call the other family and maybe they'll pay them money. Is that
No,
your solution to
I'm only
sexual
giving
assault?
you some of the things that can come up in a discussion. I'm not saying it has to be that necessarily. I'm only
I'm
telling you
not
what could
holding you
come
to
up.
exactly this is what it is. I want the full list of so-called private Islamic, repercussions.
You want the full list of what they would discuss in private.
You're saying privately. I want to know what your understanding of privately dealing with it means. And
And I'm giving you
are
examples of the things that could come up.
and I'm trying to get the examples from you so I can show you what is wrong with these examples. Islam. So
Okay.
someone had asked earlier.
Okay. What is wrong? What is wrong with telling the parents of the perpetrator what their son did? What is wrong with that?
It's not that there's something wrong with that. It's that you think that this is punishment.
Oh,
It's
so
that-
it's not punishment. Wait. I think it's a punishment if my parents should know that
Yeah, because you
I
worship your parents
assaulted a
because of
woman
religion. But does that
sexually.
punishment do anything
Wait.
for the woman?
It goes away. It goes away in doing so. I haven't even finished. But you are cutting me off. I haven't even finished, but you're
Because you've
cutting me off
spoken a lot.
already.
You've spoken more than I have.
So you tell the parents of the victim, yeah, and you make conditions as well for for whatever could also come up. Maybe he has given her STDs or who knows.
Even that example, like you don't seem to comprehend that just the harm, without bringing STDs into it, just the harm of the action itself, how traumatizing it is a harm. And you have to think of an extra layer
Okay,
of harm.
so now again we are back to square one. So do you want it
You
to be
never left
public so
square
that she
one,
suffers
my
more?
guy.
Eh?
You never left square one.
No, you want us to go out to square because you want us to say it should be taken to the authority so that it becomes publicly known, so that you will not suffer more stigma. Is that what you want?
I never said it should be forced to be taken to the authorities.
So
I'm saying your
why are you
approach
still saying
of
that?
prioritizing dealing with it privately is causing rapists to do it more often, and it's not getting justice for people.
To
If
go to
people
no.
were more comfortable to go to the
Wait.
authorities, all I've
Can I
done
say
is
something
wait for
here?
you to catch up.
Can I say something here?
Sure.
You are saying that it's like encouraging. No, if the first if the first victim should make it private, what guarantees the perpetrator that the next woman will not take it private? What guarantees him that?
Wait, what? Say that again.
What guarantees the perpetrator that the next woman he will try to do that to will take it publicly? What guarantees him that will not take it publicly?
Wait, I'm so confused by the question here. So
You are saying that I'm encouraging the perpetrator because I'm saying it can go privately. Then I'm saying that what guarantees the perpetrator that the next woman he will try to do that to will take it publicly. I'm sorry, will not take it
it's not a
publicly.
guarantee, but it's pretty safe bet where in the community the backlash is so big of a factor that you're advocating for privateness. That's not a guarantee, but it's pretty damn close.
You see, you are strawmanning me again. You say I'm advocating. No, I'm saying it depends on the victim. Again, you are strawmanning me, saying that
It's
I'm
not just about
advocating for
depending on the victim. The society that you live in and
you see,
protect
you are strawmanning me,
encourages
and
that.
you still deny. I never said I'm only giving them options. It's their will. It is not mine. It is their will, and let you respect their will. But you don't want to respect their will.
You don't really understand what we're talking about. You're still fixated. You want to paint me as this guy who's forcing women to come out and face
because
backlash.
you are saying that I am advocating for privacy, whereas you know that I'm only saying it's an option, not that I'm advocating. No, that's not my point.
No, you're not just saying it's an option. You're saying, wait, I gotta mute you because now I'm hearing myself again as an echo. You're not saying it's an option and women should do it if they're more comfortable. You're saying it's better for reducing the rates of sexual assault because of that backlash. You've said that. There's no straw manning here. I couldn't straw man you if I wanted to.
No, I said that the backlash is a catalyst somehow. Is a catalyst. The backlash is a catalyst that want people to avoid that by putting in place things that will not encourage that. I'm not saying that it is the best option. No, I'm only saying it's one of the options. But I'm not saying it is the best option. It depends on the victim.
I feel so sorry for every woman that has ever interacted with you.
No, I'm being rational. I'm being realistic because I know there are cases that shouldn't be made public. But you are saying that every case should be made public.
I will Venmo you $100 if you find the sound clip of me saying that every
okay, why are you now strawmanning me by saying that every woman who hears me will be sorry? Because I know there are women who definitely want to keep it hidden.
That's just roasting.
Because I know there are women.
Such a terrible. Your views are so
I know
bad.
definitely. I know definitely there are women who would like to keep it secret. I know it for sure.
Why do you think? I still. Wait, I gotta mute you because I'm hearing myself. I still don't think you understand what we're talking about here. I'm not saying that women should be forced to go public with it. You are protecting and defending and justifying the system that causes them backlash for going public with it. And you're trying to paint it as if I am telling all women you have to go public or else there will be no justice. No, I think you're encouraging a system that benefits the rapists, is what I'm saying. That's pretty much all I have to say. You're either disconnected or muted.
Hello?
Yep.
I said that I'm also looking at the repercussion, and if it will be more beneficial for the woman to keep it hidden, fine, she should go with it. That is my point. I'm not saying that she has to do that.
You're not only saying that, you're saying that the system that makes it not beneficial for women to go public with it is keeping them safer.
No, no. Okay. So you mean it's not safe for her to keep it hidden if that will cause her more damage? Is that what you're saying?
No, you're saying that because there's big backlash against, and there's a lot of shame against the victim, that keeps the victim safer because people in the community and her parents and everyone make extra careful that no one gets assaulted. That's what you're saying, and that's incorrect. The opposite is true, is that more women are assaulted and it's kept quiet, and there's no record kept of it. Like, no one would know that this is the guy's the second or third attempt. And the way that you think reparations are given, right, by paying her money or whatever, calling his mom and ratting him out and then agreeing to pay her money, what if he can afford to keep doing that?
You miss my points totally. You miss my point. My point here is that I'm not encouraging the perpetrator because it could happen both ways. The perpetrator may be exposed publicly, yeah. So why are you saying that my position is encouraging the perpetrator?
Do you think the backlash against the perpetrator and against the woman or the victim are similar in ferociousness?
No, not the same.
Which one has it worse?
It's worse for the woman, and this is for all society, even in secular society. It's worse on the woman. No.
Don't bring other societies into it.
No. In secular society, a woman who is raped, the shame is more on her than the man. I tell you.
You so here you tell me that you know better than me about your society, even though it seems like you have no idea what's actually happening to women because you wouldn't know, it's kept private. And now you're telling me you know better about a society that I live in. I can tell you for sure there is problem with shaming victims, but no, it's not nearly as the same extent. There isn't more shame put on the victim than the rapist. That's in your world, maybe.
On the woman, in all society.
In your society, and you haven't lived.
No, in all society, even including the secular society, the shame is more on the women. Yeah, because the man can walk freely. The man can move on easily. But not her. So the shame is more on the.
1 second, people in the comments, is that true that in the society you're in, if it's a secular society, that there's more shame on the victim of rape than the perpetrator? Is that true or false?
That is the case in all society.
Here's the problem with your mentality is that you have accepted this narrative, right? That Islamic narrative that men are animals and rapists and it'll happen and this is just how society is and women will be shamed. Therefore, we just have to deal with it the best way that we can. No, that's not how it is. Here, all the people in the comments are telling you there's not more shame on the victim than there is on the perpetrator.
What I'm telling you is that a man can easily move on, but a woman cannot move on easily. So the damage and the shame is more on the woman, and this is for all society, whether you like it or not, and that is the truth.
Lying?
Okay. Can you give me examples? Maybe, for example, well-known people, so maybe celebrities, where the man is having more problem than the woman.
Wait, so you want me to give you a different example where a celebrity with status and power and influence is doing better than the victim? First of all, I don't keep track of these cases in the public eye. But if you take out of it someone with power who can influence public opinion or like influence the legal system somehow, which they're not supposed to be able to do, if you take that away, if you try to make it as fair as possible, if you take someone who assaulted and a victim, people will look at the rapist as a rapist. They'll look at the victim as someone who they shouldn't be shamed for that. In your mindset, that is just a universal problem because that's what you live in. That's not a universal problem.
No, I don't think you quite understand the different gender role of man and woman in society, and you think that okay, the effect must be same with no, because the gender role is different. Therefore, the effects or the backlash must be different.
That's because
and for the woman, it's worse in all society.
You've accepted that narrative and you perpetuate it.
No, it's true. Are you telling me that the gender role of man and woman in a family, for example, is same? No, it's not same, and because of that,
Who
the
said anything about
backlash must be
same?
different. Huh?
The problem is that you've accepted the narrative that you experience, that Islam tells you is true, right? Men and women are different, and therefore backlash is going to be different, and you perpetuate it. Not only do you accept it as a fact of life, you continue it, you participate in that system. I live, thankfully, in a society where people say, no, that is wrong, and we're not going to shame the
I
victim more than we shame the rapist. You say,
I
oh,
accept the
everyone's going to shame the
narrative.
victim more.
I accept the narrative because it is rational biologically that there is gender role
I don't think
among
you
women and
have a
women in
sniff of
family,
rationality in
and
anything you've
because of
said so
that,
far.
the backlash must be different.
You live in a regressive society and you want to keep it that way.
No, 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 no. Okay, wait, wait. Are you telling me that in the place where you live, yeah, that the gender role of a man and woman is equal in all senses?
Who said anything about everything is identical between men and women? That's such
So
a strong.
as that, so therefore, therefore, biologically, the backlash must be different
What the hell does therefore biologically? How did you get there? I don't think you understand
because
what therefore or
you just
biologically
admitted
mean.
now that the gender role is not the same. So why should the backlash be the
What?
same as
What
well?
does the general is not the same? What?
The gender role of
What
a
does that
man
mean?
and woman in a family is not the same, yeah. Therefore, the backlash must not be the same.
How? What? What is that? What is?
Okay, okay,
My
okay.
friend, this is
Let me
such
give
a
you
weird non sequitur
let me
that
give you an
I don't even
example.
know
Let
where
me
to
give you
begin
an
with it.
example. Yeah.
Sure, but it'll be the last thing that we talk about because I think we've exhausted our, options of making this a productive discussion. This is just
Okay.
masochistic at this point. Yeah.
If you have a daughter and a boy who are grown up, and if somebody tells you that your boy had a sexual relationship with a woman, or maybe he assaulted her sexually, and somebody comes and tells you that somebody assaulted your daughter sexually, whom are you going to which one is going to affect your family like directly?
Wait a
Like which
second
one is going to
before
bring more shame to
I
you?
unpack that. So my son is a rapist versus my daughter is a victim.
Yeah, yes, which one is going to bring shame to you, to your family?
Why didn't you think of my son as a victim?
No, I'm asking you, give me an answer so that I can know where you are coming from. Which one will affect you more?
I don't think you understand here the problem. Why didn't you give me an example of what if your son was assaulted and what if your daughter was assaulted? Why are you saying your son is a rapist, your daughter is a victim?
Why don't you want to answer? Which one is going to affect your family,
Because I
your
think
family
the
name
way you
more?
ask questions is more telling than whatever you're going to say after I answer.
The fact that you don't want to answer this already tells me that you do know
No,
the
I
answer,
will
but you
answer
don't want
this.
to say
I
it.
have no problem in answering it, but I think it's more
Okay, okay,
valuable
then
to
go ahead and
dissect
answer
why
it.
you asked it. So to answer your question, I would I would feel more ashamed if my son or daughter committed such an act versus if they were the victim of such an act. I would feel ashamed that maybe I have failed in raising them, maybe I didn't teach them right for wrong. I would feel ashamed that someone I'm related to did something so horrible. More than I wouldn't feel ashamed at all if something like that happened to my son or daughter. Shame has nothing to do with it.
Now, do you know that your daughter could also be in places where she exposed herself to that? Wouldn't you feel ashamed?
I knew that was going to go there.
No,
You
no. You see what you are saying. You are like trying to blame. Pin the blame on men. Only men, as if women don't have their role to play. This is your mindset, and I think
Are
it's
you
wrong.
fucking kidding me? Wait. So now you're saying I'm blaming men too much for rape. What's your daughter's contribution to rape? What? Yeah.
Encourages such kind of thing, and she get
You
raped.
are like I didn't want to call you
Wait,
this
wait,
earlier.
wait.
You're not only an enabler to rapists, you're an apologist for rape.
No, I am only being rational, being realistic. I am taking
You wouldn't
it
know
on both sides,
rationality
but
if
you are
if
being
it hit
biased.
you in the butt.
You are only looking at the men's side, but not looking at the women's side as well. In this case, for
Women's
example,
side. I don't think you have any idea what a woman's side is.
I I am asking you,
okay, let me
would
give
you
you
be
this
wait, wait,
example
wait.
for like it's very difficult for you to listen, but say your son was sexually assaulted. Would you think, wait, so where was he? Did he invite that? Like, did he go to an area where he would be
Why are you
sexually
muting me?
assaulted?
Why are you muting me? Would you be
Because
ashamed, for
you
example?
won't even let me talk on my
No,
own
no,
live
no.
stream. Sometimes you need to get muted. Answer my question. You're here on my live stream. If it was your son who got assaulted, would you think, where was he? Did he invite it? How did that happen?
If my daughter should get raped, for example, and
I
my
asked you
son
a
is
question about your son.
okay, that what?
If your son was assaulted, would you think, oh, where was he? Did he invite it? What was his role in it?
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to ask. Yes, but
To
I
your
would not be happy
son.
with the situation. But that's one of the things I'm going to ask. Yes, if he places himself in a bad place for that,
How would your son
so
place himself in a bad place?
thank you. This is
No,
one of
no,
the things
I'm
you'll be
asking
asking.
you.
Okay, wait,
Don't
wait,
thank
wait.
me for
Let me
anything.
finish.
How is your son placing himself in a bad
Let me
place?
finish. Let me finish. If your daughter, for example, is like going to nightclubs,
How is your
taking
son
drugs.
putting
Wait,
himself in a
wait,
bad
wait, wait,
place?
wait, wait. Let me land. Let me land. If your daughter is going to nightclub taking drugs and she get raped, who
Holy
are you going to
fucking
blame
shit.
more? Is it your daughter or
Holy
the
fucking shit. Like,
or
you
the
always have
rapist?
to go to this example of, yeah,
Because
no.
that is what happens in the secular. That is what happened in the secular.
Okay, so the reason I kicked this guy off, because as you've seen, I've been listening to him for a while. I've been trying to meet him halfway, trying to get him to understand where I'm coming from. But this guy is so deluded that he started saying that I am blaming men too much for rape. And he's going to an example of a woman who is drugged, and therefore it's her fault that she got assaulted. Even in that example, he doesn't think of who's at the nightclub. I literally made a video about this called What Was She Wearing? It's exactly for guys like that guy. It's not uncommon to run into this kind of guy. I try to reason with him on every step of the way. And his whole mentality is, but you're not thinking of the poor, horny, rapist men who are then going to heaven in his belief system. And he talks about rationality. Like someone said before, you know how hard it takes to get me to curse, especially on this live stream? I am a firm believer in letting someone speak their mind and hearing them out, even if they have a very bad belief. But the more you listen to it, this guy, I'm not going to accuse him of anything, but this is the kind of guy that if someone came to him and said, bro, the other night, I assaulted a woman, he'd be like, man, this sucks, but make dua and it'll all go away. Or like, oh, were you drunk? Was she drunk? Ah, damn. Well, shit happens. I'm trying to break down to this guy why this mentality causes more assault. I'm annoyed that I let this go for so long because I kept thinking we might get somewhere. But no, we're not getting anywhere. And this live stream, thankfully there were no other callers. If there were other callers at the moment, I would have kicked them off and been like, okay, next person. But it was the last call, so I thought, let's hear him out. What I wanted to comment on, one of the first things he said, like the first minute he spoke, I think, he said, or maybe not the first minute, but when he was talking about how shaming the victim, right? Shaming the victim helps the situation because it makes people take more precautions against sexual assault happening. What he means is, control the women more so sexual assault doesn't happen, which doesn't work, as we've all seen so many times. But he said something, separate their beds. And this is from a hadith. I can't quote the number off the top of my head. If someone can look it up right now, that would be great. A hadith about separate your kids in bed at the age of 7 or something like that, and then beat them for not praying at the age of 9 or something of that sort, or 11, some age like that. It's funny that he's talking about separating in bed as if that's going to stop sexual assault from the same hadith that encourages domestic violence. I don't know if he knew that. I don't know if he intentionally left that part out of the hadith. I don't know if he's not aware of that part of the hadith, but I am aware of that part of the hadith. I don't know if I need to, if anyone needs me to break down what was wrong with that call, but I think I've said everything I wanted to say at the moment. Yeah, I mean, he's encouraging silencing the victim by avoiding backlash more than standing with them to report and speak out. Shame on this caller. He kept talking about backlash. Yeah, this is the hadith. Thank you for looking it up. Sunan Abi Dawood. Teach your children to pray when they are 7 years old and smack them if they do not do so when they are 10 years old and separate them in their beds. Subhanallah. And this is what I'm trying to communicate to people. The belief system at its very core enables, if not encourages, abuse. It encourages domestic violence. And it encourages, in cases of sexual assault, to keep it quiet because of backlash. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If my partner was sexually assaulted before I met them, while I was with them, at any point, I would not feel ashamed. I wouldn't feel like this was a crime against me or my honor or something of the sort. I would feel angry. I would feel upset. I would want justice. I would want to make sure that the person who did it is known so that people keep a wide berth so that they know that this person might do it again, so that they're punished and maybe rehabilitated if that's even an option. But I wouldn't want to just call up their mom and be like, give me $100,000 or whatever the number, and let's get this over with. And that's another thing. Someone was asking, Stars was asking, why is he thinking that money is going to solve it? That's the Islamic way of solving things, paying for it. For a lot of these crimes, whether it's like diya is the money for killing. If there's beef between families and someone killed someone from another tribe, they might pay them money as reparation if they choose to settle it that way. Or in the cases of sexual assault as well. That's where he's getting it from. So if someone is rich, and that happens, not just in the Muslim world, but that happens. If someone is rich and has the resources to cover up their trail after sexual assault, which is exactly what happens in secular countries, then they will do so, or they'll try to do so. The difference is the general public doesn't look at a billionaire covering up his sexual assault crimes and say, well, that's how they chose to settle it, so it's all good. No, they'd still think, what the hell? That's a rapist. People should know that is a rapist. Shame on him. Or if the person who did it was a woman, shame on her. Shame on whoever did it, not shame on the victim. Oh, it's just part of the backlash and it keeps them safe. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, but this stuff needs to be said. It's unfortunate, and here's another point. This stream is supposed to be for ex-Muslims to call in and vent and all that kind of stuff. And this guy calls in, and like I said, I usually wouldn't take a call from a believer on this specific live stream. There are other live streams where I take calls from believers specifically. But today I thought, okay, last caller, sure, let's see what this is about. And I felt like if I ended the call at any point, I wouldn't be doing it justice because I want to demonstrate this mentality. We talk about it here on the stream all the time. I've had on every single stream, unfortunately, I'm happy that they're calling, but it's unfortunate that it's happening to them. Someone would say, I have been sexually assaulted. Muslim women usually, but it's happened to guys as well. I have been sexually assaulted and my family covered it up and my family dealt with it privately. And every time we would hear the story and we'd feel sad for them and we tell them that there's no shame in it. We tell them that we support them and that we hope something like this doesn't happen again. And we're going to work on making sure that this doesn't happen again. And we have a live example of someone telling us why it's good that people are shaming it and why let's consider the pros and cons of dealing with it privately. So I had to talk to him. I had to see if I can make sense out of his point, not just to say, hey, you're a rape apologist, you suck, get the hell out of here. No, I wanted to hear him out. I wanted to hear if maybe he can understand where I'm coming from. Maybe I can get through to him. But it seems hopeless. And at this point, you have to grill him a little bit. You have to show him exactly what is wrong with his way of thinking. And if not for him, then for the audience, as a demonstration that, no, these aren't fringe cases. One happened to call the live stream, what a coincidence, happened to call this very live stream, and so selfishly make it about him. Make this whole thing about let me ask you questions about whatever. That's not the topic of the stream. The topic of the stream is for ex-Muslims to vent. Yet he felt like entitled to have that conversation right now. And it speaks to how intrusive the belief and many of its followers can be in our lives. We're here talking about people who have been assaulted, and this guy comes in and says, what are the pros and cons of keeping sexual assault quiet? I didn't even have to entrap him. I didn't even have to like try to get him on any word here and there or try to straw man him. I'm pretty sure everyone can see that. I tried to clarify his words, and I can read so much between the lines that I couldn't outright say that I wanted him to say first. I didn't want to pull it out of him. I didn't want to say, and you probably believe so-and-so, and you're probably the kind of guy who'd say that. No, I let him spell it out for us. So I'm sorry if this is a distressing part of the live stream. I'm sorry if this is not what you signed up for here today. Maybe I'll cut it out and make it its own thing. Typically I'd want more warnings on this kind of video for the people, but I feel like it was necessary and hopefully a bit cathartic to see an example demonstrated live. You know, for anyone who's doubting that this happens very commonly, this is a common problem in Muslim communities. This is a problem that stems from Islam itself, and it seeps into the culture, it seeps into the mentality, and it happens to be that some people who have left the religion will still think that way. So you're not automatically a better person just because you don't subscribe to the supernatural part of the beliefs. Some of these beliefs continue with us. And I want to demonstrate how to tackle these beliefs. That it's not just about, I don't believe in God, you don't believe in God, we're great, look at us. No, there's a lot more work to be done than just deconstructing from the God part of it or the fasting part of it. I'm ashamed to say, well, I shouldn't say ashamed. I'm embarrassed to say that at some point I might have had similar thoughts to him. Like I might have had a similar starting point as him. I used to think, yeah, that it was, you could see the bias of how we're talking about all of this, about the shame and all of this. I used to think, oh yeah, well, I wouldn't want to be with a woman who was assaulted. Like, oh, it sucks for her, and like I'm sorry that happened to her, but I don't know. I want my gift still wrapped. You know, that's how I thought of it. Like how he's probably thinking of it. Or if it happened to my daughter, like, oh, I'm so angry. How could he do that to my daughter? My daughter is now ruined. It wouldn't be, how could he do that to someone that I care about? I'm so sorry that someone was hurt that way. No, that might be a component of it, but there was still this male pride of it. It seeps into even, you would be outraged over other women. Like I would feel this little bit of disgust or outrage over, oh, look at this woman, she's wearing a dress that's a little short. I would feel like if she was a Muslim woman, especially, like it's some crime against me by proxy, or that she's more likely to be assaulted. And I could tell you, it is the case. It's not even the case in Muslim communities that a woman is more likely to be assaulted if she's dressed less. She might be more likely to be noticed. But a lot of the assaults that we've heard on, a lot of the examples that we've heard on this live stream, on these live streams, are family members. It's not about how the woman was dressed. It's not about where she was. It's not about being drugged at a nightclub. Like that's the typical example that these rape apologists go to. When pretty much every case that I had on my live streams so far was a family member or like a friend of the family or something. But they love to focus on edge cases that they think make their point for them, which don't. Like he was trying so hard to say, oh, so you're forcing women to come out in public and face the backlash anyway. Oh, so you're not saying that a woman should be comfortable in dealing with it the way that she wants. Not at all what I was saying. But he wants the common case to be silence. He wants women to feel ashamed and quiet He wants them to choose to deal with it privately. He supports the system that encourages them to choose to deal with it privately. He wants the odds set up so that privately dealing with it is best. That's what I was trying to explain to him without insulting him. And I might have lost my cool a few times, but yeah. Anyway, I don't want to not acknowledge the super chats that have come in while I was talking, but obviously, I don't want to derail the conversation or derail this little rant. But I appreciate everyone who has written comments and the super chats as well. Darth Funk is saying your patience, Aladdin, is appreciated or loved. I don't envy some of the conversations you have. Thank you. Yeah. I don't think I could have been more patient in this case. I think I had to cut it off at a certain point. And I feel like I've had this conversation so many times with other people that it's boring. I made an entire video. You should go watch it. It's a sketch. The artist Jasmine helped me a lot with it. It's called What Was She Wearing? And it pretty much plays out a conversation similar to this. Dweezil, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. And Jemmer Gill, that is very, very generous of you. Thank you. They say, thanks Aladdin, you're doing great work. I appreciate it. Yeah, Erica, I know. Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, I didn't want us to end on that note. But on a positive note, here's an example that hopefully thousands of people are going to get to see, that not only are the victims sharing their stories, we have one of the either potentially abusers or potentially future abusers or abuse apologists on the stream, a demonstration. So the positive side of this, he exists, whether he was on the live stream or not, he exists in the millions. Now we have a demonstration of him documented. Now we can see how they think. Maybe I could have done better in the conversation. Let me know after the live stream ends in the comments. Feel free to dissect that conversation and tell me exactly what I could have done better. Because I know there are things that I could have done better. But even if you don't take a critical approach to it, there is a lot that we have learned from that conversation. So yeah. And yeah, the more that you like and comment, especially after the live stream is over, once it's over, just leave a comment afterwards, not just in the live chat. It really helps. And I hope that I get to have more frustrating conversations again. I want to be put on the spot. I want to have conversations with people that make me uncomfortable. I'm just, I wasn't sure if today was the right venue and timing and audience for it, right? Because that's not what we signed up for, but I'm fine with having this kind of conversation. So you'll see me having it again. I don't know if he might have a self-reflecting moment. Maybe he'll learn someday, but if he doesn't, he exists anyway. I don't think my conversation made him any worse than he was before, but hopefully it'll help other people. Yeah, and that concludes our live stream today. Thank you everyone for joining today. I hope that the rest of Ramadan goes by very smoothly for you, and be on the lookout for another video this week. And as always, think critically and think for yourself.